The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Closed captioning is brought to you in part by Raven Reads. Unbox Indigenous voices. Subscribe today at ravenreads.org.
I'm Shannon from the Caledon Chamber of Commerce. I would like to welcome you here and thank all of the candidates for coming this evening. On behalf of the Caledon Chamber, I'd also like to thank Nick from Caesars Event Center, Music 21, and Rogers TV for supporting this event. The Chamber would like to thank you, the audience, for taking the time out of your schedules to be informed about the important municipal election. It is our civil right and our civil duty to vote for our elected officials. Please exercise your right on October 24th and note that the advance polls open on October 8th. And I'd like to now introduce you to our moderator for this evening, Hazel Piacentini.
Thank you, Shannon. First of all, welcome everyone to our candidates debate. Please note that this debate is being recorded by Rogers and will be broadcast on Channel 63. So that will be fun and exciting to watch in person. We are also going to be live streaming this on Facebook, so we'll get to be able to share that with the folks that cannot be here through the Facebook. Just a couple of ground rules before we get going. We really want to be able to keep this in a professional and civil manner, so we're asking all of the folks out here and as well, all of the candidates, to please demonstrate the professional decorum that I know you all can. Thank you. As moderator, I'm going to acknowledge when the candidates can begin their responses, so we'll ask the question. We'll give them a few minutes to answer the question, and if any of the other candidates have a rebuttal, they will get a minute, I think, after that. So 2 minutes for the first answer to the question, and then a minute to rebut. Tonight I'm going to be working with Sarah as well, and Sarah is going to flash, with their flashcards, tell you how much time is left for when you're speaking. Right? So I think the red card is the big X, means your time is up. Right? And I think the yellow card is 30 seconds. You have 30 seconds left, okay? I'm gonna be brutal with time, so please know that. So if you can make your answers as succinct as possible with giving us a flavor of who you are and what you're gonna do. We're going to begin our question period in this order. So as you can see up front here, we have all the wards 4, 5, and 6 at the tables. And that's the way we're going to get introduced. You'll give time to introduce yourselves as well. And then when the questions are finished with these candidates, we're going to ask that front row that's sitting there that has our mayoral candidates and our regional councillor candidates up to the front as well. And then we will open it up to the floor once we've got all of the questions that came in through our Facebook, I guess it was. We'll open up the floor to the rest of the people here, and you can ask the questions. Again, there will be a time limit on the question timing and a time limit for response as well. Are we ready? Did I miss anything? No? Good. All right, so why don't we start now? Sarah said it's on the left, so it's this left. If we start with each one of you so that you can actually introduce yourself, you will have, again, 2 minutes to give us who you are, what you're standing for. If you could do that in 2 minutes, that would be great. And again, Sarah will flash the cards at you. So, Cheryl?
Yay, I get to go first.
Thanks.
And I'm going to have to talk fast. Hi, I'm Cheryl Connors, and I'm running to be your new Caledon councillor for the new Ward 4. After many years advocating on behalf of residents in Caledon, it has become clear that residents' voices in Ward 4 are not being heard or respected. Being elected to council is a privilege, and I will work hard to represent the residents of Ward 4 and not just special interests, and put an end to backroom deals. At a time when many residents are struggling to put food on their tables, fill their cars cars with gas and pay the raising costs of their mortgage payments or rent. All members of council, except Councillors Annette Groves and Tony Rose, voted themselves an outrageous 24.4 salary increase, and that is on top of annual cost of living raises. And they have been working at home for 2.5 years. They still have not returned to live council meetings. If elected, I will put forward a motion to roll back that disrespectful council raise. It's time to bring fairness and respect for residents back to Caledon. I love Caledon and will work to stop the reckless spending and backroom deals at Town Hall, make our community and roads safer, stop the excuses, expand affordable high-speed internet now, put residents back in control of how Caledon grows, promote fair, responsible development that puts our health, safety, and the environment first. We need to fight against putting a highway through our beloved Greenbelt. Highway 413 will split our community in two. We need to advocate for dedicated truck lanes on our existing Highway 407 that will bring a solution today, not decades from now if that highway actually gets built. It's time to put the brakes on turning Caledon into the warehouse and trucking capital of Canada. A little bit about me. I don't believe being a councillor should be a job for life. There should be term limits. I bring business experience to this position. I run a small business in Caledon. I've worked for the Ontario government for several years. I was a director on the Caledon Chamber of Commerce and formed the nonprofit Palgrave Residents Association to protect our community against inappropriate industrial activities.
Thanks, Cheryl. I'm going to have to cut you off on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nick DeBoer. I've served on council for 19 years and I'm seeking to be re-elected for Ward 4 councillor. I have been a long-time resident of Caledon with over 40 years of volunteering experience with a number of community groups. We have made huge improvements in main issues in Caledon, but there is always room to do more. Road safety and road improvements go together. We need to continue to make roads both safer when they are rebuilt, but also when problems arise. Working with the community, we have been investing more on pedestrian safety and traffic safety. Examples near me are improvements on Highway 50 in Palgrave with the trail crossing and the traffic lights at Patterson and Highway 50, pedestrian crossings in Caledon East between the two schools and Innes Lake. Traffic calming has been installed in Palgrave and is being actively monitored by both the region and the OPP to see what more improvements are required. Another issue I have heard from my friends and neighbors is housing for residents to downsize to or to be given home ownership with. We are presently a community of mostly single-family homes. Condo and land lease have been popular and uptake has been quick. Legacy Pines is a success that I am proud to say that when Doug Reddington asked for help to get it back on track with a new builder that I was able to help. We need to, with community input, find a way to have more diverse housing selection throughout Caledon. One of the first projects I worked on when I first got on council was the Caledon East Community Centre with Pad 1. Continuing and concluding that investment in Caledon East Community Centre will provide a focal point to the community with the library moving to its new location there and will become more available to the residents. With room dedicated to the memory of Corey Trepanier will be the home for art and media skills development. The swimming pool will be both for fitness and swim teaching. The expansion of the Senior Centre is also completed after a number of phases and happy to support that project. I, Nick DeBoer, want to continue to serve and provide support to my friends and neighbors and would like to ask for your continued support. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nick. Rob?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. It's great to be here tonight with all of you. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to introduce myself here tonight and to run for councillor in Ward 5. My name is Robert Chardy. After living in this town for nearly a decade with my wife and 3 children, I've grown to realize my calling to this opportunity. It has been a privilege and an honor to be able to serve this community to which our family resides in, and have to come to appreciate my own desire to work with everybody in. We need to listen to our citizens, our residents, and even our businesses. By doing so, we strive to bring out what Bolton and Caledon is in our core values, and offer the possibility of change when necessary. As a dedicated and founding member of the BVRA, the Bolton Village Residents Association, we gather and discuss issues such as supporting local organizations like Meals on Wheels, which we've raised thousands of dollars for this past June. The group worked with the community to organize such events such as Motion Ball, first ever in Caledon, which we raised nearly $17,000 for Special Olympic athletes. It has all been a pleasure working with every one of those organizers, and Annette Groves as well was especially one of the people that helped us organize each one of those events, and without her, none of those events would have happened. I've also dedicated my time to coach soccer with the Bolton Wanderers. We've now also got a new park in for the Delunto Parkette. I went door to door, knocking doors, getting over 150 signatures, working with Heather at the Parks Department to see what we need as a resident to increase that town and resident coalition that we need, that there is a lack thereof. I'm also a person who facilitates by nature. Whenever I hear someone needs help.
Sorry. Thank you.
I was trying to avoid the little X.
Hi, I'm Stacey Roberts and I'm running for councillor for Caledon Ward 5. My family has lived in Caledon for more than 20 years and I personally have been living in Bolton with my daughter for close to 10 years. I'm running for council because I've been actively advocating for our community by writing letters, delegating at council meetings, attending information sessions, and staying informed on various development issues. If elected, I feel I can bring the voices and ideas of Caledon residents to council to ensure that planned growth happens in a way that respects residents, the environment, the valuable green space, forests, and lands that we may continue to enjoy in our community for many generations to come. I believe in actively listening to others rather than contradicting or debating their ideas. With mutual respect, we can build on what has been said and make connections and correlations to find solutions that work. I believe that there shouldn't be a one-plan-fits-all approach. Communities need to share knowledge with one another while maintaining unique systems based on their diverse landscapes and cultures. A decade ago, I was thrown into politics when I worked for the Ontario Horse Racing Industry Association. The province decided to end the Slots at Racetrack program. The industry launched a grassroots campaign, and for the next 5 years, I was immersed in politics and political processes. I am currently self-employed, which I feel gives me the freedom and time necessary to dedicate to being an engaged and effective councillor. My career and company is based in communication, which will help me maintain active communication with residents and fellow council members. On October 24th, I ask that you vote for me, Stacey Roberts, for councillor of Ward 5, so that together we can keep Caledon a beautiful and enjoyable place to live and grow.
Thanks, Stacey.
Good evening. I'm Tony Rosa, and I'm running for re-election of Ward 5 local councillor here in Bolton. I would like to take this opportunity first to thank the Caledon Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event, and for all of you for being here and taking an interest in your community. My wife Patricia and I have been residents of Caledon for over 25 years. Bolton specifically is not only the place that we live and work, it's the place that we've chosen to raise our 2 children. It's the place I'm very proud to call my home. I strongly believe in the following priorities that will create a path forward for our village. It's about taking action and getting results. I'm committed to road safety and a plan that reduces truck traffic and combats illegal trucking operations across Caledon. Expanded enforcement needs to happen immediately. I remain committed to building complete and inclusive communities, which is with a full range of housing options that meets the needs of all residents, regardless of what stage they are in their life. I support the development of an urgent care facility here in Bolton that offers healthcare services we currently lack in our community. I will continue to support local businesses and look at their sustainability by promoting and profiling local businesses operating in our village and bringing that awareness to our residents. I'm committed to expanding local sports, recreation, and leisure activities, including annual festivals and events that focus on community engagement. This is really important now as we're in the post-pandemic recovery stage. I will continue to advocate for responsible growth and a plan that focuses on good financial planning as we start to move forward in Caledon becoming a larger town. And I think we need to protect those taxpayers. That's really, really important as we grow. Please join me as we continue to ignite the heart of Bolton. Please join me as we continue to build unity and community across Caledon. I respectfully ask for your support on October 24th. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tony.
So good evening, everybody. My name is Lucretia Chapetta, but you guys can all call me Lou. And I'm running for the new ward councillor for, new area councillor for Ward 6, our newly designed Ward 6. And I've been lucky enough to call that ward my home for the last 17 years. Now, growing up, I always had an interest in environmental and planning issues and actually pursued a degree, both a bachelor's and master's in environmental studies with a focus on public participation in planning. And since gaining those degrees, I've been dedicating my time to both the environment and to community engagement and environmental education. When I became a mom almost 15 years ago, I decided that it was time to start working on issues that were more personal and to my family and impacted me and my community. And that's where that's when I started to volunteer with Caledon. I'm now co-chair for that organization. It's a grassroots community group. And through my work there, I educate and empower residents to take action on environmental issues that are important to them. I collaborate with council, with town staff, and other organizations, and I advocate on behalf of issues that are important to Caledon residents. Over the last several years, I've engaged a bit more in municipal planning and policy, not only through those various collaborations, but also by writing and delegating to local and regional council on issues that are important to our community. And those include the importance of meaningful community engagement, the Resilient Caledon Plan, Green Development Standards, the Region of Peel's Municipal Comprehensive Review, and the Town of Caledon's Official Plan. I plan to contribute to a healthy and successful community by focusing on the concerns and desires that Bolton residents have shared with me. A prosperous downtown core, community safety, sustainable growth and development, meaningful community engagement, and climate action. I will work hard with and on behalf of Ward 6 and residents and businesses in order to build the best Caledon possible.
Thank you.
If I may, I'm going to stand only because I'm afraid I'm going to fall. My name is Angela Panacci, and I'm running to be your next area councillor for Ward 6. As you know, anything with the ward boundary redistribution, we now have a new ward north of King Street all the way to Castledirk. So this is a brand new ward where a lot of changes are going to be happening. A lot of the growth in Bolton is going to be occurring. But first, let me introduce myself to kind of appease some of the rumors you may have heard about me. So I am a strong believer that in order to influence change, one needs to be present, involved, and at the table. So let's talk about present. I've lived in this community for 12 years. Yes, I do not live within the Ward 6 boundaries. The Ward 6 boundary ends on Castledirk and Gore Road. Don't lose sleep. I live on Castledirk and Centerville. That's the next street over. I hope that doesn't dissuade you from voting for me. What does that mean? Involved. This is where it matters and this is where it counts. For the last 10 years, actually since 2016, I've been sitting on the board of directors for Caledon Community Services, the largest not-for-profit board here in Caledon. We touch seniors, youth, unemployment, food insecurity, the exchange, anything that deals with social services here in Caledon, specifically Bolton, because that's where our head office is. That's the majority of the people we service. I'm well aware of what's happening. So where I sleep should be of no issue to you. Number 3, at the table. This is why I believe it's important, because advocacy can only get us so far. This is why I'm running. This is why I'm asking you to vote for me on October 24th. I'm actually asking you to vote for me on October 8th in advance voting. I am very, very familiar with the issues in this community. I stood up and advocated for Bolton when they were wanting to put an asphalt plant here behind the McDonald's. I was actually the one championing the 2 regional
Angela.
seats. Thank you.
No, just to introduce you.
Oh, strange.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jennifer Innes, running for Mayor of the Town of Caledon and currently the Regional Councillor for Wards 3 and 4. And I guess we'll do another round when this is over, but we'll just have a moment of introductions.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Annette Groves, and I'm running for... Mayor of the Town of Caledon, and I'm currently the Ward 5 Regional Councillor. Thank you, and thank you for the Chamber for the
And good evening. My name is Frank DiCosta. I'm currently the elected school board trustee for Dufferin-Caledon Catholic District School Board. I live in Ward 5, and I'm happy to be here with you.
Good evening, Mario Russo. I'm running as the Regional Councillor for Wards 4, 5, and 6. Appreciate everyone coming out, and thank you again.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anthony Caputo, resident for 32 years, running for Regional Councillor for Wards 4, 5, and 6 here on the east side of Caledon.
Is it on? Nope. Yeah, there it is. All right, so now I'm going to ask the questions that we got submitted through the social media aspect, and then we will open up to the floor, right? And you can ask your questions. So again, same rules apply. We're going to start from the left side of the room and come over here to the right side. And again, you have 2 minutes to give your answer, and if someone wants to rebut, you get a minute to do that. So we're going to start with you, Cheryl. Oh, yeah, sorry. Please raise your hand if you want to make a rebuttal. That's why my friend is here with me. So, Cheryl, for Ward 4, what is your plan to stop illegal dumping on Caledon side roads?
So I understand that we spent $650,000 on a trucking task force that hasn't seen a lot of results. It's time to take oversight seriously. That task force should be looking at all of that enforcement. But this is what happens when council, and particularly the mayor, first decided to turn Caledon into a freight village. Did anyone here participate in a public meeting and say we wanted Caledon to turn into a freight village? That was an inevitable response to making a decision to do that to our beautiful town that was once voted the greenest community in Caledon. So yes, it's time to take enforcement seriously, clean up the illegal trucking yards and shipping yards, and make Caledon green and beautiful again, a community we can all be proud of.
Nick?
Thanks. The trucking task force has been active. We've got bylaw officers and legal team enforcing the properties that have illegal trucks parked on them. They have a number of charges laid. Some of the operators have actually ceased operations. Some of them are actually waiting for court dates to go to court. Once we get settlements, the hope is that we can encourage, and hopefully they'll be encouraged to actually change what they're doing. But that's on the trucking side of it, and the illegal trucking depots. As far as the dumping is concerned, that's a huge issue, and I think that as we work through it, and I've been a victim myself. On our farmland, I've had to deal with a number of cases of shingles. We had a lot of dumping of shale, and we actually had a lot of issues of fill coming from town. And I think we all have a responsibility to watch and try and keep an eye out for vehicles that are traveling around on our back roads. Dump trucks running on a Saturday or Sunday night or an evening don't belong there. I know the conversations we're having with the OPP and having with our bylaw officers when they're on duties, keeping them an eye on the community to ensure that these vehicles are caught, but it is very difficult. Caledon is a huge area geographically, and we all have a role to play. This is a problem that we're getting material from the south and having more builders responsible. But the products that I'm dealing with that we have just north of town, just north of Bolton here, are landscaping coming off of a private property. They're in all likelihood our own residents not wanting to deal with landscape stone, patio stones, and that's what's being brought just north of town, dumped off in a field and just a back road. So it's not an issue in those cases from outside of our community. I think we all have a responsibility to play, and I think we all We all have a responsibility to play in trying to make it better and stop hauling, the products from our own landscaping projects in town out to the country.
Thanks,
Thank
Nick.
you.
Cheryl, you have a rebuttal?
Yeah, so I think what's really important is that I will commit to returning all residents' phone calls and emails within 1 business day. And I'm going to tell you about a situation in our community where an abatement company created an illegal dump. Our community tried for years to get anyone to answer. Here's an email I sent in 2017 to Councillors DeBoer, Innes, and Mayor Thompson that didn't get a reply. I don't think you understand the urgency of this situation. You need to send someone from the fire department over there immediately. This has potential for an extraordinarily serious fire. It is a bomb waiting to happen with hazardous materials, chemicals, gasoline, bins of tire, old rusty construction equipment and vehicles, etc., etc. The entire property has been turned into a hazardous industrial waste site, the entire property. And then I said, I believe residents in the area should be told to stop drinking the water immediately until tests can be done and our water is determined to be safe to drink. I did not get a response to this email. 3 years later in 2020, when I finally was able to call the environmental assessment and get it cleaned up, there was petroleum in the well.
I'm just going to reiterate this again. Please respect the timing because we have to get all of the answers and everybody's answers in a short period of time. Thank you. All right, the next question is, what are your thoughts on extending Highway 427 to Highway 9? Cheryl, you want to start first?
Sorry, me again? Sorry, do you want to repeat the question? I wasn't expecting to go.
What are your thoughts on extending Highway 427 to Highway 9?
So I don't think that it should stop at Highway 9. It needs to go all the way to Highway 89. Many of us live really close to Highway 9. It is one of the most dangerous roads in our community, just where we live. There have been multiple deaths with terrible accidents, pedestrians being killed. We can't keep putting all the traffic just onto Highway 9, but extending all the way to 89, that would be really important.
Thanks. Nick?
Yeah, thank you. The discussion around 427 and the expansion farther north has been around for a long time. Mike Harris' government actually proposed doing that when they were in power. As time has gone on, I think council has had a position that we wanted to see 427 to number 9 and beyond. But it does become kind of a topic that we need to really be thinking of. First of all, it's a provincial a requirement that the province would have to address. With 413 being directed, and one of the controversy with 413 is that it's going through the Greenbelt. 427 going north will be 100% within the Greenbelt until it goes north of number 9, bisecting the Greenbelt. I don't think there's any easy question. I've been on record a number of times supporting 427 to Highway 9, but the corridor planned at the time was Hydro Corridor. So this road would actually go in King Township, and it would go in Simcoe Township. So as far as Caledon advocating for a 427 north, well, yes, that is a good solution and a possible answer. We have to work with our neighboring municipalities because they're the ones that are going to be the host to it. So it isn't an easy answer. I think having the province at the table, having a strong council, having a council that can connect to King Township, to Simcoe Township, Vaughan, and then working with the groups together to try and find an overall solution. Traffic is a bugger in our area. We've got issues with Palgrave. Palgrave and Caledon East are both communities that are being largely impacted with no opportunity to do a bypass on either one of them. So I am committed to trying to find a solution, but we do have to have a partner in the province of Ontario to really come up with a good, solid solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl, do you have a rebuttal?
I would just like to say that you've had 19 years to find a solution and haven't found a solution, and it's time for a change for someone who may make a difference happen. There is an existing hydro corridor, and I understand an environmental assessment has been already done many years ago. So I think this is something that if council is advocating for, rather than an unnecessary $10 billion highway that just opens up more unnecessary sprawl when that money is so desperately needed in our healthcare system, that would be a better use of Caledon Council's time.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to Ward 5. So the first question is, downtown Bolton is going through a revitalization process. What is your plan to beautify the south end of Bolton?
All right, the south end of Bolton, the problem end of Bolton, as a lot of residents have been telling me as I've been going door to door. What we need to do, or what we need to try and accomplish together, is exactly that. We need to beautify the south end because that is our front door. That is our front door coming in, anyone driving north onto Highway 50. As soon as you drive in, all you see is gray, decrepit grass, no trees, and I thought we were Caledon. Caledon is all about green, it's all about the outdoors, and we don't even have that at our front door. What we need to do is have some sort of agreement with our landowners that own the frontage to beautify it. There has to be a bylaw stating that something needs to be upkept up to a certain level. Now we can discuss that, what that level might be, how much greenery, how much trees, how much shrubs, how much maintenance has to be done, but that is something that we need to discuss and try and implement because, like I said, first impressions. People drive in, they can't wait to get out. Thank you.
Turn this on. Stacy?
Well, I've driven that road many, many years, as everyone else has here. And first of all, the one thing I notice is the development that's happened down towards the bottom end where the car dealerships are. There's a new retirement home there, a village, and there's some homes there. And I see people walking up Highway 50 with their buggies trying to navigate everything. And first and foremost, I think we need some sidewalks, make pedestrian traffic down there a first priority so that people can actually get to where they want to go, and beautify and create bicycle lanes. If you look at the city as big as Vancouver, they can do it. So I think we should be able to do that as well. Safety is the biggest priority. There's lots of trucks on that road. If we could find a way to divert that traffic, again, I know we've already tried, we've gone halfway up, but what I would like to do is to talk with you all and find out some solutions together, because I don't have all the answers, but just talking with a few of the residents when I go door knocking, you guys know what you're talking about. And together we can find answers on what we need to do and how we need to get there. So that would be one of my priorities, is meeting with y'all, and then we'll find solutions together.
Thank you. Tony?
Thank you. This is an issue really dear to my heart. I believe that the revitalization and beautification efforts need to start from Mayfield Road, going right into the village and right into the downtown core. What's really important is the gateway, the entrance into our community. One of the things that's happened over the last few years is the containers that are up at the corner of Mayfield and Highway 50 on the Vaughan side. And rest assured, I have already reached out to every mayoral candidate in the city of Vaughan to talk to them about how unacceptable that is to us who live here in this village. In addition to that, there's simple solutions, the proper setbacks, height restrictions, landscaping, all of that needs to happen, and those partners in Brampton and in Vaughan need to work with us, because that's a gateway that we need to be proud of. There's a significant land at the corner of Mayfield and Highway 50 on the northwest corner. There's, believe it or not, 11 acres in front of Sardo. I certainly don't want to see another warehouse there. I want to see a 21st century gateway, something that is mixed use, that is really going to meet the needs of our community, that's going to say, wow, when we drive into Bolton. And I'm going to work really hard at bringing that to you. For me, beautification is something in action. It's ongoing. It's something we need to focus on. We focus on the downtown core. We've seen some progress there, and we're going to move that south right into the entrance of our village. I want every person who lives in Ward 5 to be proud when they're driving into our community. I don't want them to be looking at containers. I certainly don't want them to the first impression was somebody thought it was a good idea to have a storage unit coming into town. I didn't bring that here, but someone thought that was a good idea. What I'm going to say to you is we've seen enough of that. We're going to go in a different direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're coming back to you, Rod. Second question. Ward 5 is home to many large corporations. What is your plan to get them to contribute to our community?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Sorry.
The first part of the question.
Ward 5 is home to many large corporations. What is your plan to get them to contribute to our community? We're going to start with Rob.
Okay, so basically what has happened is previous council has brought in a lot of corporations into Caledon and specifically into Bolton South. While doing that, they thought it was a good idea to raise property taxes for residents. So they want to raise our taxes to pay for things like the roads that transport trucks drive on, that create potholes and create havoc for regular residents that live here. However, we do not tax properly the corporations. We do not raise their taxes when we need something like a $7 million couple capital projects that had to get done during pandemic times. But we will raise residential taxes. So what we need to do is flip that. We need to reverse that. If corporations want to choose Caledon, that's great. We will welcome them. Pay your fair share. Because God knows we all paid, and we've been paying a little bit more the past 3 years, and that's something that needs to come down, right? That needs to go back to council, whoever wins, and you need to listen to people, and you need to lower the mill rate. You need to vote on lowering the mill rate, because MPAC is coming back with an assessment for residential, and we are going to be left paying the bill for corporations and their trucks and their damage on our roads. All that gets paid by, yes, I understand regional, but 33% of every dollar of ours goes to regional. So it's our money. They need to pick up the slack. Thank you.
Thank you. Stacy?
Oh boy, that's a good one. Yeah, it's kind of hard to do things with corporations once they've already been established. You know, really, those types of things should have been done ahead of time, but we're talking about spilled milk here. So let's go back to them and see if they can contribute to the community. You know, they need to pay their share for the roads and for the services that they use. I know that some of the corporations there, right, the bigger, larger corporations are already on the, you know, they have to pay for certain wastewater management and things like that, but this needs to be done before these corporations build. And but definitely we need to go back to them and say, this is something that you need to contribute to. And I don't know, I know I keep saying I don't know all the answers, but I just want to make sure that when I get into the council, I can find out as much as I can and talk about ideas and how to do this. So that's all I'm going to say for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Tony?
I'm a believer that major corporations need to be a partner in our community. They can't just come here and set up shop and then forget about it. All right? They need to be a partner. They need to be part of the community. They need to give back to the community that they produce in, that they work in, that they also need to be part of the heart of Bolton. I'm going to tell you that right now, because the most important thing that they can do is help move us forward. It doesn't need to be on the backs of the residential tax base all the time. The corporations need to pay their fair share, and they also need to give back to the community, like events and sponsoring some incredible organizations like Caledon Community Service, like Bethel Hospice. These are organizations corporations that are working to give back to communities, and we need our corporations to be partners in that as well. And they have to take responsibility for the village that they're working in. They just can't come here, bring their trucks and bring their transportation issues to our roads. They also have to give back. And I think that's really important, and building strong relationships and actively getting them involved in our community. Reaching out to their public relations departments and letting them know what our community needs. That was a great Mississauga model. If you take a look at what happened on Highway 10 in Mississauga, those corporations set up there, and one of the things that the mayor at that time would talk about is, what is Mississauga getting in return? And I think we, as Caledon grows to 300,000, we need to also grow our jobs. We need to grow good paying jobs in our community. And one of the things when we attract these businesses here, we need to sit down with them, with our economic development department, and say, hey, you want to come to Caledon? We welcome you here. Bring your jobs, bring your ideas to our community, but also be a partner and give back to the people that live here. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a rebuttal?
Yeah. Why didn't council do that in the first place? Plain and simple. It's not hard. It's not rocket science. You let them in. You gave them you gave them no rules. You said, come in, come to Caledon, do what you want, set up shop. We will worry about this later, because you wanted to bring them in. Council should have done all this beforehand, when contracts were being made, when they were going back and forth with what you're allowed and what you're not allowed to do. Council, now I don't know if it was Tony or not, but council in general, whoever is council, you approve it. Now we deal with it. Now we gotta trying to clean up spilled milk, like Stacey said. Right? But we're gonna try. We're not gonna get rid of them. We're not gonna fix the problem 100%, but we're gonna try to alleviate and live in harmony. But council never should have allowed it. Should have put strict rules in from the beginning. You wanna come here, play by our rules.
Thank you. We have another rebuttal.
I couldn't agree with you more. I believe that those rules should have been in place. I can tell you that I wasn't around when companies like Canadian Tire and Amazon decided to set up shop here in Bolton, but I certainly was the guy that went to their head offices and said, listen, you're here, you need to be a partner, it's time to give back. Those concert series that were offered here in our community, I was proud to say that they sponsored them. It was time for them to give back to us. They've been here long enough, and now they need to be a partner. And I'm going to continue doing that with everybody that shows up in Ward 5. Thank you.
Stacey?
That was my point my initial thought. I may not have said it clear enough, but yeah, we need to have this done ahead of time before these corporations come. And exactly what Rob said there, and I applaud you for going back to those corporations and getting some community involvement. But let's do some planning ahead of time and make sure that these corporations know that if they're coming to our community, then they're going to be a part of the community and contribute to it.
Thank you. 21. Sorry.
No.
Ladies, last but definitely not least. So, question to you, ladies, is what experience do you bring to the table that would benefit the downtown Bolton revitalization plan?
So first and foremost, I understand that people are looking to create a vibrant and prosperous downtown core, which is what I've been hearing at the door for over the last several weeks. And the first thing I'd like to do is to actually look at some of the successful municipalities of similar sizes and how they create successful downtown cores. In addition to that, advocating for mixed residential buildings, gentle density, so that there is the population to support that downtown core, creating more spaces for people to gather, maybe extending sidewalks, creating more bench spaces, creating connections to existing residential communities so that we can get more active transportation into our downtown core. And using the hub. The hub is going to be ready shortly, and I really like to see the hub to be used for young entrepreneurs looking to start small businesses. In addition, similar to Nova Scotia, where they have a full-time farmers market and artist market where artisans and farmers from within 100 miles can come and sell their products. So having a full-time location for those markets, I think, would be ideal.
Thank you. Angela?
Thank you for the question. In 2018, I ran for regional councillor, and that was my platform, the Bolton Revitalization Plan. In the last 4 years, things have positively changed, like Councillor Rosa said, but we're not there yet. We're not finished. So I would like to continue with my platform from 2018. It's in my brochure in the community engagement plan, what we need to do. So what do we need to do? We need to do a better job showcasing, and I feel like I'm repeating myself, but repeating what other members have said. We need to do a better job showcasing and promoting our local businesses and creating opportunities for residents to be able to shop and spend their money locally. What does that mean? Attracting more people to the downtown core. How do we do that? By making it a walkable, family-friendly community. How do we do that? By having the right type of businesses there at the core. We're starting with good businesses like Wine Spot and the new restaurant that just opened. I was there for lunch today. But we need other anchor businesses that will bring us there to spend our money. Where do we go buy our shoes? Do we have a place in Bolton where we can buy shoes for women? Do we have a place? Reitman's left. I'm a plus size, clearly, I'm not gonna lie about it. Where can I go and buy my clothes? Not here in town. How do we want people to make our businesses successful if we do not have the businesses here? So we need to bring and attract those diverse businesses to the core, create the events, create the festivals, have our people come over, spend locally, shop local, and continue promoting our businesses. And it's a cycle. We will have successfully economical businesses. People will come and shop. Our downtown.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you.
Lou, you want to rebut?
I just wanted to add, I think the big thing for our downtown core is that we need to make it a destination, not so much a drive-through. And that's unfortunately what has happened in the past. And one other thing I just wanted to add is continue to encourage the landlords that are there now to fill those empty storefronts, because it's a sad sight.
And that is a perfect segue into our next question for you ladies. Main Street Station has been an eyesore, for lack of a better term, for many years. Do you have a plan to work with that property owner in regards to updating the building, and if so, how?
Do I have a plan yet? No, I do not have a plan yet, but I don't mind being honest with you about that. But I would definitely, that is definitely on my agenda of things I'd like to do. First of all, to meet the actual building owner, to figure out why we've left it vacant for all these years and what it is that we can do to encourage them to either rent the space out or sell it or start a business, another restaurant. I mean, I'm all for a new restaurant in the town.
Thank you. Angela?
Can you repeat the question? I didn't hear it.
Main Street Station has been an eyesore, for lack of a better term, for many years. Do you have a plan to work with that property owner in regards to updating the building, and if so, how?
Absolutely. So I think the landlord, I'm not sure if they've changed landlords or not, but this person has had more than enough opportunities to work within our town. They've had more than enough opportunities to do something. I'm not in council, so I don't know if anything has been proposed. But I would say that there needs to be an encouragement to do something. And unfortunately, when you've had a business empty for that long, the only way you can encourage them is through financial penalties, because we cannot impact negatively our community for the sake of their inaction. Now, if they would have tried and for some reason the town says no, well, then that's a different story, but I'm not aware of all the details, right? I think there needs to have those conversations. I need to meet them and then work. We cannot have businesses that are empty for years and years on end. And since I've been paying attention, which has been at least 6 to 8 years that has been empty. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a question. I'm going to open this up to all of you. Please put your hand up so that we're not talking all at the same time. If you received $1 million grant for your ward, how would you spend it and why? Do we want to go in order again, or do you guys want to go first?
Me?
Yeah, go ahead. Go first.
Stacy, go
How would
ahead.
you guys spend it? That's what I would be asking. It's not up to me. $1 million for our ward. I'd like to know what you would like to do with that. And I would pose that question to all of you, and then we will take a consensus and spend $1 million. So that would be my answer.
Okay, Rob?
So now I kind of regret letting her go first, because essentially that's what I would say. When you're talking about a number that big, you can change more than one thing in the ward, but a census would have to be conducted, because that's what we've been lacking here in Caledon, is communication with the residents. What do we want? I'm never asked. Are you guys asked? Never. We're never asked. We find out when it's too late, and then we have to fight because it's either not what we needed or it's a waste of money. Sometimes it's good. It's not all bad. I don't want to sit here and say it's all bad. Sometimes it's good, but at the end of the day, we're never asked. We are in the dark with a lot of things. But like Stacy said, we would have to open that up and say, what do we need most? We need dog parks, that's for sure. Parts of it can go to a dog park. In Ward 5, every house I knock at, I hear the dog come before the person. Every house. There is not one dog park in Ward 5. There is a beautiful piece of land right beside the new bocce court that can be a dog park, right? That's one thing. Upgrading our parks for the children. There's a lot more children. My daughter just started kindergarten, and there's 3 classes of kindergartens. That's a huge uptick in little people running around. We need upgrades in that. So we would definitely spread it around, but it would have to be consensus. It would be all of us. It's our money at the end of the day.
So I saw Nick's hand first. I think I saw Tony's, and then I've just seen yours. And you ladies want in on this? Okay, so Nick?
Okay, thank you. It is exactly what the previous 2 speakers asked. We do go to the community, and through our recreation master plan, we have in the past gone to communities to look at what we need to do for infrastructure. We did that at Mona Mills a number of years ago on the one side of the community, on the one side of Airport Road. As the community changed, their needs changed, and we invested into a hard court and a number of pieces for playground equipment. The community around Victoria Parks, if you're specific to our ward, because I would think that something like this would be for the broader community too. But for my ward, the way the question was phrased, we are already looking at, early in the new year, going to the community around Victoria Parks to look at what investments they would like beyond the tennis court and beyond the baseball diamond that's there for that community. We're also looking at, and I would also look at the Palgrave ball diamonds outside of Palgrave on Mount Hope Road, that they're needing an investment and an upgrade of the playground equipment. We're getting more and more younger kids in the family and in the community again, and the cycle just keeps going around. As people get older, the playground equipment isn't as needed. Now we're back to younger families, and that's exactly what we've done in the past, is going to the smaller communities, and it's usually between recreation and council driven, to have those community meetings. And that's exactly what I would be doing, and actually will be doing in the new year with the recreation team to look at both Palgrave and Mona Mills at those 2 locations.
Thank you. Tony?
So part of that $1 million, I would definitely be investing in expanded senior programming. I'm going to tell you that this is really near and dear to my heart, because this past February the 15th, my father passed away. After being 2.5 years locked up in his living room in a corner watching TV, wasn't able to go out because of the pandemic, wasn't able to socialize, wasn't able to go out on a vacation, wasn't able to go out for dinner, wasn't able to do anything. And when we called the paramedics at the last minute, the week before, they said, please don't send your loved one to the war zone. So I watched him there, not engaged. The seniors have been the contributors to our communities the longest. They have paid their fair share of taxes. They have contributed to our country for so many years, and now it's time to give back to them and have the last quality of life for them in our own community, in our own backyard. So if I could take funds and create programs that would engage them and have them interact and meet people. And I see my mom now alone after 60 years of being with my dad. She's now stuck in a bungalow here in Bolton. She doesn't know what to do with herself, right? You spend 60 years with somebody, it's not easy to be on your own. So it's really important to engage, and especially after what we've been through. So if I could do something, that's where I would start. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl?
So the first thing I'd like to say is that the $1 million doesn't have to be a fantasy if we rolled back that council wage. And just so you know that the province last week announced that MPPs who haven't had a raise in 14 years will not be getting one, because they said, and this is a quote, that politicians should not be getting raises when people are struggling. At the door, I'm hearing over and over again how we don't have access to parks in our ward, that the parks that are in Mono Mills and Palgrave are in bad shape, not accessible for kids with disability, and I saw it for myself how derelict they were. Our tax dollars paid for an equestrian park. We were promised that we would have a community center in Palgrave that is never available to be booked. Palgrave Rotary doesn't have a home right now. These are all decisions made by council, so let's take some real money and create. I know when my son was little, we had to go to Bolton to find a park. We allow estate homes to be built and don't put any requirement for developers to build parks. Parks are a community gathering place for families, and really important when you're alone with a baby and feeling isolated. You can go and meet other people. I didn't have that option unless we drove to a different community. So Palgrave, Mono Mills, Ward 4 can't be neglected. And then I'd lastly say we took a debenture to build a pool in Caledon East. There were, even though which is the town's own consultant said we should have one pool for 150,000 people, but the taxpayers of today are paying for the residents of tomorrow to use those pools that we won't be using for us and our kids.
Thank you. Angela?
Can you repeat the question just to make sure I respond correctly?
If you received $1 million grant for your ward, how would you spend it and why?
Okay, so if I received a $1 million award for Ward 6, I would ask what the criteria is, because usually grants come with a little bit of a criteria. But if we got lucky enough that it didn't have any, I think that there's a lot of needs in Ward 6 right now. We do not have a splash park for our kids. We do not have a doggy park for our pet owners. We definitely do not have any amenities for the North Hill residents. So I think those are some of the things that I'd be looking at. I do agree that there is a need and an importance to consult the public, but I also believe that you elect me to represent you. That doesn't mean that I need to ignore you, but I also believe that you have given me a little bit of confidence and you believe that I have your best interest in you. Will I ask you? Absolutely, but I think there will be some choices given. I also think that we would be investing that money in our downtown core. We have just spoken about the importance of having a good, effective, successful downtown core. So let's invest it there. I do agree 100% with Councillor Rosa that we need to invest in our seniors. My mom is 70. My mother-in-law is 73. I have a lot of seniors around me. And something that I would like to explore is if we had this grant and we were to, as a collective unit, public ward, agree to this, is let's look for our seniors, especially in the winter when the snow plows come, and you know how they snow plow and they cover the driveway. Let's explore that, and if we can use some of that funding to be able to have whatever tool is needed to cover that. I don't know if it could be done. I can't say it will or not, but I would certainly like to invest some of that money to explore it. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Lou?
I feel like I should contribute. So a key lesson I learned early on in my career was that engagement is more than one-way communication, and it's about really facilitating dialogue and creating space for the community to come together and to learn from one another and build their common vision. So while I may be elected to represent my ward, I do think that it's absolutely 100% important to consult my residents on how they would like to spend that $1 million.
Thank you. I stumble off my chair. Thank you very much. That's all the questions that we have. Would we like to open it up to the floor, or do you want to take a break? We just have to switch these wonderful people that are sitting in the front row up to the front, so we're going to take a 5-minute break. Washrooms are, I think, down that way. So thank you. Can we have a round of applause for everybody?
Heartbeat of Mother Earth, I feel you and embrace your warmth. I see you dancing through the trees. Your song floats on the summer breeze. Community, we come together. We are the voice of our ancestors. Thankful for how much you bless us. Feel the thunder in the drum. All our voices sing as one. Feel the power, feel the pride. Feel the drumbeat deep inside. Feel the boom, feel the bass. Let's let go of time and space. It'll make you dance, it'll make you sing. Ode Wegun, Wedok Wishin. The drum will lead you, take you far. Always remember who you are.
Watching hockey just got a power play with NHL Center Ice and Super Sports Pack. With up to 37 out-of-market NHL games a week, you'll always catch your favorite team no matter where you live. Whether it's big matchups you're looking for or following your top fantasy picks, it's all here. NHL Center Ice, part of the Rogers Super Sports Pack. All this for only $35.95 a month. Say Super Sports Pack into your voice remote to order.
I'm Angel Morgan, host of Raising Energy on Rogers TV. Join us this week with our live studio audience for psychic readings that are fun and fast-paced just for you.
We're just going to get started. I have one person who we want to introduce you to, and I just don't... There he is. Come on up and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dominic Madry. I'm running for a Catholic school trustee for Dufferin-Caledon. And I'm not going to say anything else because that's all I'm allowed to say tonight. But I will be around afterwards to chat if you want to come chat with me. Thank you.
Turn that on at the right time. Just been informed there's another person here that's running for trustee. Paula, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Paula Demetto Giovinazzi and I'm running for the position of Catholic School Board Trustee here in Dufferin-Caledon. I wanted to say that I have been a resident of Caledon East for the last 46 years and I am proud to call Caledon my home. Thank you all for coming out.
So we've had a little switch in the tables and the faces that are up at the top. So why don't we start down there with Mr. Caputo, and maybe you could just introduce yourself. 2 minutes.
Hi everyone, my name is Anthony Caputo. I've been a resident of Bolton for over 32 years. I started in Bolton by going to Elwood Memorial Public School, the same school that my 4 kids are going to right now. I'm a firm believer of community helping each other. I believe that businesses in this community need support from everybody. Loving Local was a great initiative, Councillor Rosa, and we need to continue it. I've been watching Bolton especially, and it needs help. All of Highway 50 needs to be revitalized. Downtown Bolton needs to be revitalized. But it doesn't have to stop there, it has to go all the way up. If elected, I promise you that I will bring back open conversation. I want Town Hall to be open to the public again. And I want to make sure that not only this part of Caledon gets taken care of, but the west side as well. I find that there's a divide there that doesn't need to be there. And I truly believe, I've always said that Caledon is a diamond in the rough. And if we all work together, we can shine this diamond and everybody will benefit from it. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Frankie Coleslaw, and I'm currently the elected school board trustee for Dufferin-Caledon Catholic District School Board, elected for 19 years representing Caledon and Dufferin County. I want to express my gratitude and appreciation for entrusting me for 5 consecutive terms, successfully advocating on educational and community policy within our community. During this time, this opportunity has granted me extensive knowledge and experience complemented with professional development, adding to my competencies and successfully advocating for our community. As a resident of Caledon of Ward 5 for over 25 years, I've decided to represent my community of Caledon Wards 4, 5, and 6 at the Region of Peel as Regional Councillor. With the Region of Peel's recent decision to eliminate 2 Town of Caledon Regional Councillors, there is a greater need for a current elected representative who's experienced, qualified, and committed, who will successfully address some of the challenges which include Highway 50 traffic, growth pressures, exploring opportunities of introducing an outdoor active living center, improved community transportation to Ghost Station. These are some of the challenges that our community will face and some of the opportunities that we will have an opportunity to experience. It is with my experience, qualifications, and unwavering commitment that I am confident I can successfully represent and advocate for a community that I live and value. Thank you.
Thank you. Mario?
So I'll leave the meat and potatoes till after. I'll just do a quick intro. Hello, my name is Mario Russo. I'm running as your regional councillor for wards 4, 5, and 6. My wife and I, along with our 3 beautiful children, are proud Caledon residents. I'm a passionate advocate for community, actively serving on the board of Caledon Community Services and also the Boys and Girls Club of Peel. I have a Bachelor of Science in Biology and Psychology from the University of Toronto, as well as postgraduate certificates from Kakawa College as a registered massage therapist and also a holistic nutritionist. I'm a strong supporter of small business and understand the value that they bring to the community. I have always had an entrepreneurial spirit, having owned and operated multiple food and dessert businesses throughout Peel over the past 20 years. I also have over 25 years of practical experience in various roles in real estate consulting, advising, property management, as well as construction supervision and management. I'm wholeheartedly committed to the town of Caledon and this position as regional councillor for wards 4, 5, and 6. As a result, I have recently resigned from my position as a sitting member with the Ontario Land Tribunal, formerly the LPAT and the OMB, where I was entrusted to adjudicate on land planning issues throughout the province of Ontario. I have extensive experience this role requires, both in the private sector as a business owner, as well as a proven track record in public service. I've had the honor to chair the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Brampton years ago, as well as citizen-based panels for Parks and Rec master plans, OP reviews, and the Trillium Grant Review Team for Halton Peel. When I'm at your door and here tonight, I tell you this: I am truthfully looking to do this job, not to just get a job. On October 24th, or at the advance polls, I'm humbly asking that you support and vote Mario Russo as Regional Council.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Annette Groves, and I'm your candidate for Mayor of Caledon. I was first elected in 2000 and am currently the Regional Council for Ward 5. On top of representing the residents of Ward 5, I've also worked in the healthcare sector and successfully owned and operated my own business. I believe in spending taxpayers' money wisely. I am the only candidate for mayor that did not support a property tax hike during the pandemic or vote for a 24.4% pay raise for councillors. This is a critical election for Caledon, as the decisions Caledon makes over the next 4 years will affect Caledon for generations. The high volume of traffic our residents contend with is a direct result of decisions made by some members of council that allowed out-of-control development in areas that they do not have the appropriate infrastructure. Every village and hamlet in Caledon are unique. I will represent and work with all residents across Caledon. My plan is simple. I will invest in emergency services and ensure that infrastructure comes before development. As our town grows, we need to ensure that the health and safety of our residents are paramount. I will invest in revitalization and beautification projects in every hamlet and village. I will invest in our special needs community. I will support a moratorium on aggregate pits and work to ensure Caledon's natural heritage is protected. I have always listened to and represented my residents' needs on council. My voting record speaks to this and proves this. On October 24th, I humbly ask that you vote Annette Groves for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you to the Chamber for hosting. I am Jennifer Ennis, and I'm honored to have served as the Regional Councillor for Wards 3 and 4 for the past 8 years, and as Chair of the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority for the past 4 years. My family has called Caledon home since 1899. During my life, Caledon has seen immense change. That is why I chose to run for council 8 years ago, because I know that the best way to protect the Caledon that we know and love is to be a voice at that table. My plan as your mayor will be to modernize town services through the use of innovation and technology, keeping our community safe, saving tax dollars, and provide better customer service. Life shouldn't be hard. Employment, education, healthcare, and everyday conveniences should be at your doorstep. I have a plan to build complete communities where we can walk and cycle to where we need to be and to live where we work. As your councillor, I have already begun the work to make this a reality. Councillor Rosa and I have worked to protect lands for a post-secondary campus in our official plan, and we have had many positive conversations with universities and colleges to provide a class now so that they can grow with us and we can realize a full campus in the future. I have worked to ensure that Caledon will have access to higher order transit by securing the lands for the future Caledon-Vaughan GO line and working with the province to now have that line included in their transportation master plan. We will build strong employment base to help alleviate tax burden on our homes and prioritize revitalization of our village cores and focus on new employment lands around food security. Just like my family, you have chosen Caledon to call home. With the growth that is coming, we need a leader that understands our rural countryside, our villages and hamlets, and the ability to protect our identity and ensure that it is reflected in our new communities. I am that leader, and I will put Caledon first.
Thanks, Jennifer. Thank you all. Anthony, we're going to start with you. What is your plan to lessen truck traffic from Highway 50?
Good question. It's a difficult one because right now we have a highway that's unfinished. We have another highway that's being proposed to come right through Caledon. But there's a short-term and a long-term plan for that. Short-term plan would be to get Albion-Vaughan town line, use that as a line to push trucks, especially off of Highway 50, going through Bolton and into King. Doing that will really disrupt the residents of King Township, and they will force their leaders to push that highway forward. There's also using the Mayfield Road. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, we first can start off by reducing the warehouse development in our community, because really that is what has sprung most of the trucking, including the illegal trucking facilities that have shown up, and it's, I think, 500 so far from what I read about an article, which puzzles me because 500 didn't show up all in one day. It's a sign of a weakness of policy within our council to address some of the challenges, and certainly missing some of the legal complexities of trying to mitigate or reduce some of the illegal trucks facilities that are showing up on a daily basis. That would be our first start. A prime example of that, and I drive by it every day, is if you go down Coleraine Road, and this issue is not only within our community, but it's also outside of our community, and we should be strong advocates of this. As you travel down Coleraine, as you reach Highway 50, on your left-hand side, your east side, you'll see a big white building. There are 30 dock doors on one side, and there are 30 dock doors on the other side. Guess where the exit's going to be? Highway 50. And it is not a manufacturing outfit, it's only a storage unit. Another bunch of trucks hitting our roads, and it's frustrating already for our community. Traveling down Highway 50, having no access or limited access to 427, only you have to wait 15 minutes or 20 minutes at a light, or try to make an illegal turn on Highway 50. Thank you.
Thank you. Mario?
Well, I think it first starts with enforcement. We have rules in place, we have bypasses in place, they're not being utilized properly. We have, let's call it, trucking industry that's doing it by the rules, and we have others that are not. So strong enforcement has to start. So that's number one. Number two is, and I like what Mr. Rosa said as well, is it's not just within our borders. We need to advocate with our neighboring properties. We are geographically very challenged on Highway 50. We have Caledon merging with Brampton, merging with Vaughan, and I think for a long time everyone's been pointing the finger to each other. We need to actually have everyone sitting at the table and realize it's affecting all of our residents, and we need to actually have something in place that we actually can figure out the solutions. And I use the example of, and everyone when I hit the doors, they use this example to me, or explain this to me, is Coleraine, Major Mac, Highway 50. What a disaster. So you have a highway that is actually a phenomenal highway. I love the 427 extension there, but it wasn't overnight. That was there for 20, 30 years. I mean, before I was born perhaps, but it was something that the infrastructure of our regional roads have not been improved in anticipation of that highway being built. So this is what I actually want to propose, is infrastructure first. Ms. Grove said exactly the same thing. Infrastructure first, and then actually plan and grow wisely.
Thank you. And I'm sorry These questions are actually just for the regional councillors. We have a whole set of special questions for you ladies. Thank you for your patience. Question 2, we'll start again with Tony, or Anthony, I'm so sorry. How do you plan to navigate Caledon's growth plan and maintain our small town feel and protect our hamlets and villages?
Well, working with the developers is step number 1. Having them come to the table and actually have a conversation with us about what we actually need. I've had many friends of mine that have left Caledon because we don't have the housing that they require. We have an older generation of residents that are stuck in the same home, and they need a bungalow, they need a condo, they need a variety. And that's what we need to bring to Caledon, and we need the developers to work with us to give us what we need and not what they want.
Thank you. Frank?
Sure, the development is upon us to enforce it on the applicant, how it fits the characteristics of our community. And if we don't do that at the very beginning, it'll be a much more difficult task for us to try to achieve that later on. It needs to have an added value. So, for example, if there is development down at the business core, how do we ensure that that business core, that development is going to add to that community? And that is critical, because if it's not done at the beginning, certainly it will be much more difficult to ask it later on in the development.
Thank you. Mario?
Thank you for the question. This is actually one of the main reasons I chose to run for wards 4, 5, and 6. Understanding that we will quadruple in population in the next 30 years. And this is something that's very dear and near to my heart. I have 3 kids that I'm raising in the community, as well as my parent, my mom, my brothers, everyone else. And if you do not become part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So what you have to understand is legislation and understand what actually dictates that growth. So the province is whom dictates the numbers. And we will have to meet those numbers by 2051. But what we have the ability to do at council, if we have a united council that works with one another, is to enforce and implement our official plan that highlights how and where we grow. This is what's going to be important, how and where we grow, again, with that infrastructure in place. One of the areas that's designated to grow, and I use this when I'm at the door a lot, is King Humber Station in Gore. And why is that designated to grow? There's a GO train that's supposed to go there. But what I would not want to see, what I do not want to see, is the fact that we do not want to have thousands of homes put in there in anticipation of that GO train. That has to be secured. That has to be brought to the forefront before we actually allow for growth. So growth has to be done sustainably and has to be done intelligently, keeping the hamlets and the villages that we love and the characteristics of those villages in place, but implementing and having that growth that we basically have the ability to grow wisely and intelligently, and that's what I want to bring to the table.
Thank you. I'll get it right this time, Anthony. Thank you. Okay. Since Caledon has lost significant strength in regional representation, if you are elected regional councillor of Ward 4, 5, and 6, how do you view your responsibility to Ward 1, 2, and 3 at the regional table?
I think it's going to be extremely important to work together, not only with the other councillors, but with the mayor as well, in order to bring back the proper services and everything that the residents of Caledon need. I think working together is the only way that the job is going to get done correctly.
Thank you. Frank?
I believe it's going to ask more of a regional councillor more now than ever before to establish relationships that are productive and not to be centered around only your representation of the community. It needs to be a focus around the entire town of Caledon. And it has to be a unified position at the region of Peel. And if we don't show that and demonstrate that and show an ounce of that not occurring, certainly that is where it takes place that we will be disadvantaged again. So that is a critical component to trying to survive through this again. And of course, the rumors are that 2 councillors are gone and the next 2 are on its way as well, which is unfortunate, and I hope it's just a rumor. But certainly we will be challenged with that, and we must establish relationships that are strong, even at the region of Peel. Those are critical as well.
Thank you. Mario?
Similar to many of my answers is with losing those 2 regional councillors, I think it is imperative that the regional councillors that are elected, as well as the mayor, have the skill set and the desire to do the job. And in doing so, have to understand, again, what that role entails. If I'm elected as the regional council for wards 4, 5, and 6, I will work diligently to be your voice. But I am being elected, if I'm fortunate enough to be there, as a councillor in Caledon. And therefore, when you're in Caledon, you need to fight for Caledon. So whether it's on the west side, the east side, the north, the south, you have to understand the issues that are relevant in Caledon, because we are connected, and we need to make sure that we connect these hamlets and villages ongoing. Geographically, we're huge. We're the size of Brampton and Mississauga together. But in terms of character, we're one in a million. So we want to make sure that we keep that characteristic. But the regional councillor has to understand how to work with the regional councillors in Brampton and in Mississauga, and understand more so how to advocate to the province and the feds if people aren't playing nice at the actual region in Mississauga and Brampton, because we will only have 3 voices, 3 of 24. So we need to make sure that our voices are strong and loud.
Thank you. Coming back, Anthony. The crime rate in Caledon has increased, specifically car thefts most recently. What are you going to do about increasing police presence in all of Caledon?
I want to see a police station back in Bolton. We have a huge development that's coming on the North Hill. We have a fire station that has a beautiful land beside it, but there's no reason why we can't have not only just the police station there, but also have an ambulance. It's not just about the crime rate. The response rate for ambulances is horrible now that they've changed everything. But bringing those services back to Bolton, back to the east side, is imperative. We have the biggest population, and we have the most industry. We need them here.
Thank you. Frank?
What I don't see is really the presence of our police. They may be in their cars, but we don't see them on bikes. We don't see them walking. And I think that's critical for our community. Certainly, we only see them if they're called in or if they're driving by. So really, that doesn't add much to showing the community that there is the potential of being found if you're obviously doing something wrong. The other piece is community involvement. We don't see much of that with our police officers being participants within our community, which I think is also very important in order to reduce crime.
Thank you. Mario?
Well, I think Mr. Caputo took the words out of my mouth. I would like to see an actual police station back in Bolton, and I'm pretty pragmatic. Is perhaps the dollars aren't there to actually ensure a police station, but a community station should at least be there. It doesn't make sense to me that we had one, but then we lose one as we grow. It's illogical. So we need to have some representation there. But also, it is challenging in Caledon because we are at the region of Peel, and then we also have the I guess, deal with the OPP who actually do the work in our community. So we need to understand if and when we grow, how does that grow with us? Will it be OPP? Will it be the region of Peel? But ultimately, I do agree that the community involvement is a necessity. Having, for instance, community watch programs like that we implement as we grow, it's much more challenging to make sure that that sense of community is retained. And we need to focus on retaining that sense of community. But again, that pragmatic approach, perhaps in some of the areas that are communal, I have heard when knocking at doors, there is a pilot program for some type of surveillance cameras in public parks for loitering, garbage, all these areas. I wouldn't say that there's something that is an exact answer. We need to explore all the proposals and work diligently to get the effect that we all desire in that safety first.
Thank you. It's the ladies' turn. Annette, we're going to start with you. How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process for Caledon?
Thank you for the question. And first off, I will not support any MZOs, and we need no more MZOs. These MZOs, I have not ever been a fan of MZOs, and I have never supported one. And the reason is because they are very undemocratic. Now, I know that the province has enhance that MZO, and it excludes and circumvents the public process. When we are making decisions that are affecting your future, impacting your lives and your livelihood, you need to be at the table. You need to tell us how you want to see your community look. You need to tell us how we should be doing this, not us telling you how we're going to do it. We need you at the table as our partners.
Thank you. Can I just make one comment before Jennifer answers the same question? I love the support that you guys are giving everybody up here, but sometimes that applause is taking time away from them to answer the questions. So we can applaud at the end for sure and celebrate. Thank you, Jennifer. Do you need me to read the question again?
I'm glad that my opponent had mentioned that she doesn't support MZOs, because she also didn't support the MZO to stop the asphalt plant from coming to our community. Not all MZOs are created equal, and there is a public planning process as part of those MZOs. I was a staunch advocate to actually remove Schedule 6 from Bill 229, and you can read my article in the Toronto Star that was printed and published, because I did feel that the MZOs, under the changes recently made, went way too far and circumventing environmental protections. However, not all MZOs are created equal, and I did support an MZO for our GO train lands and to stop an asphalt plant. I think we have to use all tools within our toolbox to make sure that we're representing our community. In regards to public process and engagement, I think that it's important that our agendas are printed sooner and available to the public so that they have more time to review the things that are coming onto the council agenda. And there needs to be greater communication from Town Hall, not just email messages from your member of council, but the communication coming out for residents who have already indicated their interest on planning matters in communities that affect them, so that they can get engaged and have an opportunity to read those council reports, provide comments to their councillors, and also to attend council and participate should they wish. I think that better communication is a necessity moving forward, and that engagement is key. Thank you.
Thank you. Annette?
Thank you. I'd like to respond to the MZO issue on the asphalt plant. And just to be clear, I voted 3 times against that asphalt plant. If I don't support MZOs, then I can't support it for this and not support it for that. I think they are undemocratic, and I just don't support MZOs at all. It's also important to note that the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Steve Clark, did write a letter to us saying that he will not exercise his authority, his powers to issue that MZO for that asphalt plant. So I do not support the MZOs. I think they circumvent the public, and I think the public needs to be engaged. The other thing that I need to remind my opponent as well is that public question period, that was removed from the agenda. If elected as mayor, you will be able to come back to the council meetings and ask anything you wish of us as council members.
Thank you. Jennifer, I'm going to come back to you with this next question. Where do you stand on the proposed Highway 413? Are you for it or against it, and why?
So the proposed 413 highway, I think that as our community grows, I think there's a lot of misconceptions put out there about the highway. It's not going through farmland. That is where our population is going to grow. We are going to see 300,000 people in our community and an additional 150,000 jobs right through where that highway is proposed to go. This is infrastructure that we need to move goods effectively and safely and to keep local trucks off of our local roads as much as possible. So when it comes to the 413, like the 427, I do support highway infrastructure. I also think it's a highway of the future. It's an opportunity to have rail component along that highway and active transportation along that highway, and we have to plan for the future. And that means protecting our village cores as much as possible. And the 427, you know, if you're opposed to highways going through environmentally sensitive lands, then you should be opposed to the 427 too. But that is a position that all mayoral candidates support, is the Highway 427. And in August of this year, I don't just talk about advocacy. I don't say I will advocate for you. I do advocate for you. Instead of campaigning and knocking on your doors, I went to Ottawa to meet with Minister Mulroney and with Councillor Rosa and Mayor Thompson to advocate for the 427 to Highway 9, because that is what our community has been asking for, and that is what our community needs. Many of our village cores cannot have a bypass. Palgrave cannot have a bypass. Caledon East, even though my opponent has promised that she will keep the trucks out of the village core in Palgrave, should know as the past chair of Public Works that there is no possible bypass around Caledon East because of the environmental sensitivities and the safety concerns of the local schools.
It's important to note that in Peel region, there's $2 billion worth of goods and services that moves through this region daily. We don't need to wait 15 years, 20 years for a highway that we may never see in our lifetime. We've got Highway 407 as an east-west corridor that can move our goods and services, get our goods to market today. Having the trucks go using Highway 407 toll-free to move the goods and service, and if this is what the 413 truly is, which I really don't believe that that's what the 413 corridor is. The 413, in my opinion, and if you do your research, you will see all the developers that own land along the Highway 413 corridor, and the Toronto Star reported that those developers stand to make $100 billion. This is what Highway 413 is all about. So if we really want to solve the congestion today, if we want to get our goods to market today, free 407 for our truckers. And just to wrap that up quickly, I would also like to add that the extension of Highway 427 is something that I supported. I spoke to Doug Ford 2018, saying to him, we would like to have a Highway 427 extended north to 89. If we need to take the trucks out of our villages, out of Palgrave, out of Caledon Village, an extension of Highway 427 to 89 will do just that. It connects into the Highway 400, and Highway 413 connects to nothing. And I would like to also add that farmers contribute $50 billion annually in revenues to Ontario's economy. They are important, it is significant, and it is especially important for food security. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer?
The 413 is a long-term goal. It's not an immediate. The 407 is an immediate solution. We've all agreed to that. We're all advocating to have access for our trucks on the 407. But we also have to plan for the future. You can't just say no to something today and not think about what the consequences are going to be in 15, 20, and 30 years. And let's be realistic about the developers in that white belt space. It's long gone. The farmers were jumping up and down and screaming for this community to support them when that greenbelt was passed. And the farmers got no support. They got no support. And since that time, developers have come in and started to purchase those lands. They've made it difficult for farmers in the greenbelt to be able to diversify the use on their lands and to be viable. Industries that support the agricultural community have begun to leave our community. That means the accessories to the farming, the grain elevators, the large animal vets, and the equipment dealers.
Sorry, thank you. Okay. Sorry.
Thank you. I would also like to add the 410. We're all forgetting about the 410. And I will remind everyone here that members of the previous council, of 2 previous councils, had the province rerouted that highway and right through the Valleywood residents' backyards. The 410, there is a swath of land that is reserved to reroute that 410 where it should have gone in the first place, and that is straight north. So we have infrastructure that is just sitting there that really needs to be expanded, extended, widened, and those are things that if we want to look at a holistic plan, not just focusing on one, but we need to look at a very holistic plan of all of our highways, all of our roads, Highway 50, Mayfield Road, Coleraine. It's a whole network that we need to look at. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to move on to the next question. What is being done to control the speed limit and safety of Highway 10?
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, I can tell you that the councillors in that area, they have been working with the Region of Peel, MTO, to cut down the speeding on Highway 10. You know, and I just want to go back and having speed cameras installed on Highway 10, but it's also important for us as residents, people that are traveling on these roads, really to respect the speed limit as well. We do need more enforcement. We need MTO to step up and help us with enforcement on Highway 10. Highway 10 is a very dangerous highway. It is just as bad as Highway 50. A lot of fatalities on that highway. So we really need to step up more enforcement. How do we do that? Our police officers are telling us that there's not enough of them to go around. And part of the problem is we have grown significantly over the last few years. We've grown the communities in Caledon East. We have grown at Mayfield and Kennedy Road. And police officers are telling us there's just not enough. And as I said earlier, we need to have infrastructure before development. The police officers were already stretched, and having additional development stretched them even more. And so when I say infrastructure, it's not just road, it's not just your water and wastewater, it's your fire, your paramedics, and your police force. So we need to prioritize our spending, and we need to make sure all of those things are in place and the dollars are in place to fund the police officers and anything else, fire and paramedics.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Thank you. So earlier this year, I sat out at Old Base and Highway 10 because Councillor Kiernan, who represents that area, had gathered a community group to do a traffic count. To see what the difference was between our traffic counts and that of the province of Ontario's. And for 1 hour that I was there, 7 fully loaded dump trucks ran red lights. 7 fully loaded dump trucks ran through the red lights. We went back to the province and we used this information to advocate with the minister. And we, as a result, got flashing lights, warning lights for the stop sign so that the trucks have an indication that they need to slow down, that the lights are going to be changing. They gave enhanced signage and road markings, but much, much more needs to be done. We asked that red light cameras be added to all of the intersections. And the minister came back and said, we don't do that on provincial highways. And we said, well, how about we do a pilot program? We need a pilot program because this community is growing, because there's an increase in aggregate trucks using this route, and there's a speed problem on it. And the minister came back and said they're going to review it, and they look forward to getting back to us before the end of the year, and hopefully we could have a pilot program on red light cameras. We have to continue to advocate to the province for better enforcement along this road. There's too many deaths. There's too many accidents. I have lost friends along this road in my lifetime. And so we will continue to advocate for greater enforcement. We will advocate for greater improvements at the intersections to slow down the traffic. And I think that the time for discussing bypass around Caledon Village is long overdue. Let's stop talking about it and let's start planning it and doing it.
Thank you. So the next question is, what are the plans for a Caledon East bypass to deter trucks from occupying Airport Road?
Well, I thought we already answered that, but I'm happy to start.
I think you did.
So the bypass around Caledon East has been studied extensively. The region has determined that there is no bypass option around the village of Caledon East because the local roads, either the topography or environmental sensitivities or the fact that there's safety concerns because of the schools. This is something that we've been advocating for. That's also the reason why part of the region began to work on the environmental assessment through the village of Caledon East, and that was one of the first projects that I worked on when I became elected as their regional councillor. That road and that EA is now done. The detailed design phase is in the works, and beginning next year, that road will be reconstructed so that there will be safety improvements, beautification. Thankfully, the trees are going to be replaced in the sidewalks so that they're accessible for our community, and I'm looking forward to that work coming forward. Things that my opponent has already promised to the residents of Caledon East are already being delivered or can't be delivered because they've been studied. I will tell the residents, there is, at one point someday, Gore Road will probably be a truck route. That will be something that we are all going to have to discuss and face. It has been studied time and time again by the region of Peel. That's why the road is built and constructed differently than a lot of the other north-south routes. And that's something that we're going to have to bring back to the community to discuss. But that is the only alternative option to alleviate trucks through that village core.
Thank you.
And again, I think Highway 427, the extension will certainly help with getting the traffic off of Airport Road. Highway 410, the extension of Highway 410, they can use Highway 410 to get out of Caledon East. I have sat there and I have seen the traffic and we've seen development, and there's more development coming. Again, infrastructure before development. There is a development happening. I'm going to guess that there's probably about 1,000 cars coming out of that development. Where are they going to go? We needed to get that in place before that development was approved. And there's additional development coming in Caledon East. So we really need to put our thinking caps on. We really need to go to the province, and they need to be a partner at the table. They need to help us figure this problem out. It shouldn't be just the town of Caledon or the region of Peel. The province of Ontario needs to be at the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer?
The 427 is a must. We've all had this conversation. You've heard it time and time again. But I will say I am extremely disappointed and angered at the situation we are now facing at the south end of Bolton with the major MAC extension flows out onto Highway 50. And I'm angered because my opponent was chair of Public Works during the last term of council. Chair or vice chair of a committee at the region of Peel is more than just presiding over meetings. It was an opportunity to plan ahead, knowing what was coming, and that did not happen, and our community is suffering as a result.
Thank you.
And as chair, as past chair of Public Works, I can assure you that the region has in place plans to widen Highway 50 from Rutherford Road to Mayfield Road. The city of Brampton dragged its feet, and my opponent's friends from the city of Brampton, yes, they dragged their feet because they were supposed to be at the table. They were supposed to work with the region of Peel so that the region of Peel can upload Coleraine, make it into a 4-lane road, but they dragged their feet. They did not participate. The province of Ontario also dragged their feet because they weren't willing to work with the region of Peel. The region of Peel has the plans in place, and they will be beginning the EA starting next year to widen Highway 50, to widen Coleraine South, because they now own Coleraine South, and to also deal with the problem, the bottlenecking at Major Mac and Highway 50. The province dragged its feet. They refused to come to the table and to work with the region and the city of Brampton.
Thank you. I have one last question. Air Canada has recently made an announcement that they welcome the dropping of the mandates that were never based on science. Will you, as mayor, permanently drop all COVID mandates, including employment-based mandates required to become an employee of the town of Caledon? Jennifer, you want to start?
So the mask mandates are no longer part of our everyday life. I personally, if I was flying on an airplane, even though I'm told not to wear a mask, I'm going to wear the mask. It's a confined space with not good airflow. I think that we have to remember that we have a lot of residents who have health concerns and health issues that are not identifiable. Just because you're sitting across from someone, you may not know that they have COPD. You may not know that they have asthma. And so if there is a time and a place where we need to ensure the public, that is our responsibility as first line responders. And I think that we have to continue to uphold that until our public health advisors give us the green light to fully open everything up.
Thank you.
I'm not an expert on mask mandate, and I'm not a medical expert, and I certainly rely on the expertise of our medical officers of health to advise us. Personally speaking, I think it should be it should be a choice. If you choose to wear a mask, no problem. If you choose not to wear a mask, that's okay as well. I think that many people we've realized, and children wearing the mask, it affected them also mentally. So, it's a tough decision. I know that when we had to make those decisions on council, we heard from groups from both sides. We heard groups that said, yes, we want the mask mandate in place. We heard other groups that said, we don't want the mask mandate. So it's a tough thing. And no matter which way you go, you're always going to rub someone the wrong way. So I think you really leave it up to the individuals to make that decision and make the choice whether or not they choose to wear a mask.
Thank you. I'm now going to open it up to the floor. Oh, my boss is saying I need to take 5 minutes. So why don't we take 5 minutes? As after the 5 minutes.
Leonard Thompson, 13 years old, diabetes mellitus, 65 pounds.
Starve the child to let them live? The treatment's as cruel as the disease. It's a death sentence.
Dr. Banting, this could be it. He's the first to receive this trial. But will it save him?
It's not pure enough. So we try again. And again. And again.
Before the discovery of insulin, diabetes was a death sentence. Banting, Best, Collop, and McLeod's breakthrough has saved millions of lives. Leonard Thompson's was the first.
Watching hockey just got a power play with NHL Center Ice and Super Sports Pack. With up to 37 out-of-market NHL games a week, you'll always catch your favorite team no matter where you live. Whether it's big matchups you're looking for or following your top fantasy picks, it's all here. NHL Center Ice, part of the Rogers Super Sports Pack. All this for only $35.95 a month. Order through your remote on Channel 450 or call 1-888-ROGERS-1 today.
With clubs, leagues, and courts in every province and territory across Canada,
Squash is the sport for wall-to-wall fun, fitness, and friendship. From coast to coast to coast. Learn to play and you'll want to do it every day. Squash. Play inside the box.
Hi everyone, I'm Lauren Stallone, the host of Healthy Living Dufferin. Here we talk about all things health and wellness in the Dufferin County. Tune in soon to learn more.
For those of you who want to ask a question, please, you have 30 seconds to ask a candidate your question. Candidates, you have 1 minute to answer. And you could please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. My question is directed to Ms. Ennis. Good luck to you, Ms. Ennis, and good luck to you, Ms. Groves, as well. First of all, Ms. Ennis, you would agree that ethics and integrity are a hallmark for our mayor, as well as listening to the people you represent. As you've indicated, 1899, you're a resident of Caledon and a ward member for 3 and 4. Your family has had a long history of dealings with land developments, and some land was now Innis Lake Road and Old Church Road, northwest and northeast, which is now known as the Brookfield subdivisions, and a big property expansion. And in doing so, your family have had a long-standing relationship with the developer, John Spina. The first question is, why, when you were a voting ward member on Mr. Spina's request to the town of Caledon for an expansion of a condo from 3 levels to 5 levels, why did you not declare yourself in conflict of interest? And secondly, you speak of MZOs.
Sorry. We only gave you 30 seconds to ask the question.
30 seconds?
Yeah.
So I'm happy to answer the question. First and foremost, my family has had no affiliation or land deals with any developers that you are mentioning. That is incorrect information. I don't know where you're getting it from, and I have had no conflict of interest. I have always recused myself from council when I have been required to do so under the Municipal Act and pecuniary interest thereof. I have never, ever failed to do so. I take that as a serious allegation. I think that you should take a step back and have a look at where you're getting that information from in regards to relationships and landholders. And I would also like to go on to say, in regards to that development you had mentioned across from Town Hall, I was one of the few councillors who stood up and advocated against it. My community did not want it, did not want the additional stories added to it. Neither did Councillor DeBoer and Mayor Thompson. We all fought for the residents. My opposition did not. She agreed to allow it to go to another story and unfortunately, that was the outcome that my residents got.
Sorry, thank you. One question at a time.
Thank you. I do have a right to rebut.
Sorry, sir.
I do right to rebut.
Sorry, sir.
I have a right to rebut. One rebut, yes.
One.
Ms. Innes, in the voting.
Sir.
Sorry.
I know this is not from a mayoral, but I just want to thank the Chamber for organizing this credible event. And I just want to caution you that whatever questions are being asked of any of the candidates, that they're credible, factual questions that add value to the voters. I think we're past Boston. Thank you.
And I really am sorry in the interest of time.
I have a right to rebut one point.
No. So one question per person at the mic in order for everybody to be heard. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. I just have one question. Let's say myself here, I'm making $15 an hour. And I never see 2% raise in my lifetime where I work. How dare that council is voted for 24.4% raise plus $9,500 bonus on top of that. But I don't know where that number come from, and I don't know, in pandemic, people are sleeping hungry, and we have to pay more tax on the property to pay that.
Sir, ask your question. Who wants to reply, please?
Thank you for the question. And I can tell you that Councillor Rosa and myself did not support the 24.4% raise. I didn't think that it was justifiable, especially when many of our families, and I will tell you, we know that more families are using food banks. Many of our families are struggling, and we really need to lead by example. I tried to get the nurses support from council to get our nurses more than a 1% raise, did not get the support. And so doing a 24.4% raise for politicians is just not acceptable. The province has made it very clear that their MPPs will not be getting a raise. We need to lead by example.
Hi. Jennifer, do you want to answer?
Thank you. I think that it's important to note that the role of our councillors has changed dramatically since 2015, the last time we had a compensation review. And that compensation review compares us to other municipalities, but also compares the roles and responsibilities of those councillors. The roles and responsibilities of these councillors is changing. It is moving to a full-time job. But what I will commit to in the next term of council is that we have to look at those expenses that the gentleman had referenced, because I don't think it's appropriate that my opponent spends thousands of taxpayers' dollars on meals. That's not acceptable, and that's not okay. And it's not okay to commit to going to events and using taxpayers' dollars to go to those events and then not actually attend. It's disrespectful to the community groups, and it's disrespectful to the taxpayers.
Thank you. Ma'am? Ask your question, ma'am. Yeah.
Hi, I'm a Ward 5 resident, but my question, because I've been hearing, I think, for the last 3 hours about enforcement, trucks, traffic, because I was going to ask a question for 50. Why, or is there a plan, perhaps, we talk about lack of police stations, maybe there's satellite offices in the works, which don't cost a lot of money to build stations, but with trucks, maybe perhaps we work with the province on increasing these fines tremendously to make it hurt, like they do with texting and driving. So is there plans for that? And we talk...
It's time. What is your question?
That's my... So what are the plans to do? Like, not we have to enforce it. What are we doing to enforce, not the how?
Thank you. Is this open to everyone? It's open to everyone. Hand up. So she go first, and then I'll come back to you.
Enforcement has become a very serious issue in our municipality, and predominantly because of the size of our municipality. It becomes difficult. That's why we implemented the illegal trucking task force. But as we all know, the fines are not set enough. We have to have our provincial partners at the table, making those fines more substantial so that it actually hurts them in the pocketbooks. And we need to take it one step further. We need greater enforcement tools. It's not okay to fill in wetlands. It's not okay to cut down woodlots. We have to be able to protect our environment and our community, and we need greater enforcement tools from the province to be able to do so.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I really appreciate your common sense question. Is exactly that. Enforcement has to be a deterrent, and that deterrent has to actually be monetarily or whatever the case may be. That said, the province dictates a lot of that legislation, and we need to understand that we are creatures of the province, and how do we actually advocate? We will be, or should be, working our butt off to actually get that done. Because if someone is doing something illegal, in terms of, in particular, truck parking or anything along those lines, the good guys are doing the right stuff. We should be applauding them. The guys that are not doing the right stuff, that if it's a $1,000 fine, I use that example, and they're making $100,000 a day, it doesn't make any sense. So absolutely, we need to get that fine that justifies that deterrent and get them out of there.
Thank you. Frank?
One thing that can be enforced is enforcing trucks to move to the right lane. And we have no presence on police to do that on Highway 50. And once upon a time, when Coleraine was restricted vehicles, there was a sign that said, trucks, please move over to the right-hand lane. That has disappeared. We also don't see MTO inspectors on Highway 50. And there are many, many trucks which we think we can certainly see are questionable in terms of their fitness.
Thank you.
If I may add to that with respect to having the trucks in the right lane, I did propose a motion and tabled a motion at the Region Appeal to do that with Dairy Road. Actually, Councillor Parrish's Dairy Road is like our Highway 50 here. We did table a motion and ask that the trucks travel in the right lane to free up the other lanes. Unfortunately, we did not get any support from the police officers because they said it would be very difficult to enforce that, and so it really didn't happen. Having said that, we do need more enforcement, and I will tell you that when we had Sylvia Jones, our MPP, as a Solicitor General, I've been to Sylvia to talk about enforcement, and as the Solicitor General to help us. And again, as Mario clearly stated, the province needs to be at the table with us. They are the ones who dictate to us. But the problem with the province is they dictate, they give us no funding, and they give us nothing to help with everything that they've handed down to us. So they really need to be at the table.
Thank you. Tony?
Enforcement is key. I'm always hearing that we don't have enough of them. That's one of the excuses, especially when we go after illegal trucking. So I'm doing my own investigation. I'm going to help this along. On Sunday morning, I took this picture and I sent it in. They know that it's happening. We can find them. They're right in front of our eyes. It's just time to take some action, and that's what I'm doing. And I give up my Sunday mornings to go out and give the addresses where they need to go if they don't have enough of them in-house.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add on to the enforcement. Obviously, MTO being there would be a great help for the illegal trucking yards. We're at 500 mark. One begs the question, how do you get to 500 illegal trucking yards in Caledon? With a task force apparently that the town has, is the task force 3 people? Because there is no enforcement. There is nobody going in the town of Caledon, going towards where we all know they are. As Councilor Rosa pointed out, you can take a picture of this car. We all know where they are. We need to put MTO into these spots on a daily basis, because if there's a speed trap in your area, for a month straight, you are not going to speed on that street. We need to put MTO more and more in all these areas.
Thank you. Tony, Anthony, I thought, sorry. We will get to you, Brian.
I think it's important that as a first step approach to dealing with the trucks is to have bylaw, hire more bylaw officers in order to deal with it for the short term. But we need to give them a little bit more power in order to actually really enforce these tickets and get them to stop this illegal trucking, especially in the short term.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, as you can see, I'm a senior, but I also have a disability. And I know I have many friends that are in the same boat. I have some friends that have lost their driver's licenses because they're 85 and couldn't do the test again. There are people that have to drive illegally in order to get around. There's no public transportation. It seems that it has all stopped. Now, in order to infrastructure and also improve Bolton and south of Bolton, how are a lot of the population going to get around?
Thank you. Thank you. Mario, put his hand up. Sorry.
Mario, go ahead.
Well, thank you for the question. Is number one, you're 1,000% right. We need a transit artery up Highway 50 and a strong Highway 50 presence. There is something that I know council has already in place, but it changes, it deviates. People don't even understand schedules. So that is part of a plan, a grand master plan, to actually have that intensification along Highway 50 that justifies the corridor of transit. When I say intensification, it's a matter of having mid-rise and some high-rise that justify that corridor is where people can live and work. And therefore, it justifies the dollars in that transit and linking and connectivity to Highway 7. So you can go east-west, you can go to the subway, you can go to into Brampton, and then maybe eventually go south on the LRT. Who knows? But that connectivity plan is what we need to focus on.
And we do have a local transit system here. Many of you probably don't know that because it's not very visible. We did pilot that project, but we need to look at expanding that service and expanding the service also to connect the communities in Caledon. We've got young people that live in the Mayfield and Kennedy area. There's not much for them to do over there in terms of part-time jobs and working, but we do have part-time jobs and we do have employment here in Bolton. So we need to expand the services across Caledon. And as Mario indicated, we need to also make sure that the routes connect to other jurisdictions so that you can get on a bus for Brampton and you can get on a GO train that exists today that can take you to work and they can take you to wherever it is that you're going. So we are looking at that, and it's certainly something that I would be committing to doing, is to look at expanding the service, because we do have CCS and thankfully we do have them, but we do need a broader transit system, a local transit system. Thank you.
So I would like to say that the reason we're seeing these planning issues with lack of transportation was a very bad plan by some members of council to fill Bolton up with warehouses, and we haven't had significant residential development in 15 years. If we want better transit in Bolton, we need to be serious about putting residential development here. I call that the ghost train. It's not in the 30-year Metrolinx plan. You know, council used that MZO saying there was going to be a GO train. When Steve Clark announced it the second time, he said it was for residential development. So don't be conned by the promise of a GO train anytime in the near future. We almost lost our GO bus service because we didn't have the ridership. That will be a business decision, and we need to start putting people in homes in Bolton and not just warehouses.
Question. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry. Is this on? Nope. Nope. Hello, hello. Test, test, test. Coming. There. Can you hear me?
I'm not as good as Tony with a big booming voice, which she could probably fill the room without the mic. I think that we have to look at both short-term and long-term solutions. So short-term, obviously the bus that we have locally, it's not serving the needs of our community. It's not scheduled in the right times, it's not going to the right places, and it's not connected. We need to have better correspondence with our residents to understand their needs and make sure that we're delivering a service that works for them, because if it doesn't work, you're not going to use it. Then I think we also need to work in ensuring that we get our fair share at the Region of Peel and get adequate funding for CCS and Trans Help. I had to fight to keep Trans Help going to White Birch Day program for adults with cognitive disabilities. I shouldn't have to fight to keep a service to our community for needs that they have, and that we have to continue to advocate at the region for our fair share. And we also have to plan for the future, like the GO train. I heard some chuckles, but I'll tell you, there's 2 little girls sitting up here, and by the time that GO train is built, they're going to be going off to university and need to use it.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Thank you.
First of all, good luck to all. My question basically is, it's quite obvious that the Region of Peel makes the final decision. That's what it sounds like. You guys put forth your thing. Now, my issue I have is, our taxpaying dollars basically built Mississauga, part of it. Our taxpaying dollars built part of Brampton. It's no secret that in Mississauga, they've talked about wanting to separate. Maybe it's time that we get over there and say it's time for our problem, because everything south of Mayfield is Peel and Vaughan. That's where the major truck issue is. Maybe it's time for our handout to be given to us, because we are the size, we are bigger than Toronto. Guys, it's time that they pay. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
The region, again, sorry. You could just share, Tony. Want to share? Okay. Tony and I are good at sharing. The region of Peel has been around since 1974. And while we have a constant battle at the region of Peel, we do have a tool. The province gave us a tool to make sure that two municipalities never ganged up on one. And that was when there was a vote that takes place, there has to be one representative from each member of council of each municipality present. That was to make sure we didn't get ganged up on. And I think it's important to note that without the region of Peel, we are going to have to create utility boards. Those utility boards are going to be more expensive, and the service is not going to be as good as it is with the region of Peel. So while we have to put up with Brampton and Mississauga, we do have good working relationships with our partners to the south to provide services and programs, but we need to be strong as a municipal council. Caledon has to be united when we go to the region of Peel to ensure that our residents get their fair share.
Thank you.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to congratulate you all because I had to write this down so I wouldn't forget. I don't know how you guys are staying on point. Anyhow, I've heard tonight the candidates speak about how the region of Peel has changed in the growth. My question is, how did we lose 2 representatives at the region of Peel when we're growing so tremendously? How did this happen?
Thank you.
So I'd like to take a line directly from my opponent's website, or sorry, her Facebook. Please do your research and look at the facts and the recorded votes, which will clearly tell the truth. On November the 26th in 2020, Regional Councillor Groves was one of 17 who voted in favor of a motion to reduce Caledon's seats by 2. On December 17th, 2020, a special meeting was called to ratify that vote and the seats moving from Caledon to Brampton. As I explained earlier, in order for that vote to take place, there must be one representative from each of the municipalities. While the rest of Caledon got up and walked out to stop this vote, Councillor Groves stayed in her seat and allowed the vote to happen. You voted to give 2 seats from Caledon to Brampton on November the 26th. That is the reason we lost our representation. And I will always put Caledon first.
Thank you.
And if I may, I do have the vote right here. And you can go on the Region Appeals website, and it certainly says that Councillor Groves opposed. Now, I also have a letter, and I did support. We did have a public meeting, a council meeting, where our residents spoke and said, we don't want to lose any of our members, and I voted. I stayed in my seat, and I voted no. I have a letter from Minister Clark, which we asked Minister Clark to step in, and I do have the letter from Mayor Thompson that asked Minister Clark to step in. Minister Clark clearly stated in this letter dated December 14th, 2020, that he will not be stepping in, and the 4 municipalities need to figure it out. So when we're talking about facts, facts matters. That's the fact.
Thank you. One more.
Facts do matter. Sorry.
Hold on, Annette. It was your time. Sorry.
Facts do matter. On November the 26th, you voted on a motion to reduce our seats. You voted in favor. On December 17th, nobody cares how you voted. We cared that you stayed in your seat. You allowed us to lose our seats and our representation. Shame on you.
And again, Councillor Innes, the final vote is what matters. and it is the bylaw. Yes, it does matter. Excuse me.
All right, sorry.
And I will also tell you
Next question. Sorry.
Go ahead. Hi, Jasmine here to take off some. I know we've been asking a lot of heated up questions. My question's very easy and never been asked before. So, what is the plan of having a university on this side? Or, you know, are there any, is that even in thought of any of the councillor members? Because our community, as it's expanding, there are kids who in 10, 15 years will be going to the university, so.
Okay, thank you. So what is the plan for the university is the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, who put their hand up first? Jennifer did.
Well, I had already mentioned in my opening speech that Councillor Rosa and I have already begun work to secure the lands in proximity to the GO train under the official plan for a future campus. But we can't just start with a campus. You have to build it up as our community grows. So we start with a class that rolls into a program that eventually turns into a campus. Councillor Rosa and I have already spent significant time over the past year meeting with various universities and colleges to talk about the opportunities that Caledon has in partnerships with them. They're very excited to come to Caledon. They're very excited that we're making a position and a stance to say it's something that we need in our future and securing those lands. And I look forward to continuing those conversations with Councillor Rosa and the rest of our colleagues to ensure that we have post-secondary options for our residents.
Thank you. Tony?
Everyone knows I work as head of student services at the local high school, and I deal with students every day. And one of the things that I'm very passionate about is providing them opportunities to train in their own community. We're going to grow by 220,000 people over the next 30 years, and we definitely need to keep our own here. I see the struggles of my own son traveling to Metropolitan University in downtown Toronto. It's not easy from Bolton to downtown for students to go to post-secondary. So I've reached out and had conversations with Georgian College, who's very interested in some of our opportunities here in Caledon, especially in the areas of hospitality, agriculture, also trying to look at programs for assisting in healthcare and so on. So there are opportunities to have satellite campuses, and I welcome the opportunity to bring one here to my village.
Thank you. Lynette?
While post-secondary is important, and I've actually had conversation with Seneca College to look at doing a satellite campus here as well. The other thing that's really important, and right now we have a problem in our skilled trade, a labor shortage there. We have a lot of people retiring and we don't have enough young people filling those positions. I've had, and my son is in the trade, and I have had conversations with an investor who's got 4 trade schools. I believe he's got 4 trade schools across the GTA. While we're talking about university and college, we also need to talk about the skilled trades. He is willing to bring 2 skilled trade schools here as well for those young folks who decide to go into the trade. So I think it's a combination of both skilled trades to fill our labor force in our laborers union, as well as a college or university campus.
Thank you. Cheryl, was your comment to do with this question or the previous question? Can we hold it for now? Thank you. Mario?
Very quickly, not to repeat what everyone said, I think that's exactly it. But when I spoke of infrastructure, that's infrastructure. It's not just roads, it's not just services. It's a combination of a grand master plan that we end up having recreational facilities. We have universities, post-secondary institutions, we have medical facilities. It's all part and parcel. It's not exclusive. It has to be a big plan. When we're talking about 300,000 plus, those are the actual ideas that we need to start implementing and plan today for the future. If we need it, it's too late.
Thank you. Angela?
And as a candidate representing Ward 6, once again, I want to remind how you hear everyone talking about what's going to happen in the ward I want to represent, and the importance of having someone that's knowledgeable, that's skillful, that has the experience, and is aware of what's happening. This is why, again, I'm asking you to vote for me, because with everything that's being talked about, with everything that's being said, we could not ignore what's happening with Ward 6, and I just ask you for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, just on the regional council, I'm going to be fast, and I know this is a really emotional, but I do think that there's one really important point that needs to be talked about. The province gave all of the regional governments 2 years by legislation to change the regional composition. At the Region of Peel, this happened at the Policy and Procedures Committee. Councillors Innes, Mayor Thompson, and Councillor Sinclair were the vice chair. They chose to defer that item for 2 years. They could have brought forward a solution that would have saved Caledon seats. Brampton, in the previous term of council, had grown exponentially, had made it very clear they wanted more representation. We could have done weighted voting, which is used at other regional councils. I'm not really sure that a stunt of leaving for one meeting was going to make a difference. Was the plan to stay out forever? So facts do matter. Thank you.
Thank you. No. Go ahead.
Good evening. I'm from Ward 6, but I hope this question is going to bring us all together for a couple of minutes. As a father with a child bearing multiple exceptionalities, I'm trying endlessly to partner with the town of Caledon to grow needs-based programs for all kids. Where do they go after school? And where do they go when they turn 21? What can you promise, if elected, to help people like me and all vulnerable families in Caledon to solve this ever-growing crisis that we keep putting aside? Thank you.
Annette first, then you.
Mike, thank you for the question, and it is an important question, and it is something that I have not heard anyone address. And as you know, special needs is near and dear to my heart. I have done a lot of work over the years with special needs. I work and raise money for the Megan's Room. I work with the Special Olympics athletes, and I've also raised quite a bit of money for the White Birch School, because the challenge is this. Once those children leave high school, you know, as parents of special needs, there is nothing for them. So I can commit to you and promise you that inclusion, so that we can grow the programs and services that we have. So you're not sitting there in a lottery waiting for your child to be accepted into a program. It's about inclusion, and I will commit to you that all children matter, whether they are special needs or not, and I do believe that inclusion and inclusivity is extremely important, because other children can learn from these children with special needs, so you've got my 100% commitment to
Thank
that.
you. Tony first.
I believe in partnerships. I work in a building 40,000 square feet in the village of Bolton called St. Michael Catholic Secondary School. At 2:30 in the afternoon, those special needs classrooms are collecting dust until the next day. They collect dust all summer. The town needs to partner with the school board to permit those facilities and start running programs in the afternoons and evenings to help support those families. We have the facilities. Let's maximize the usage.
And just to touch on Tony's ideas of partnerships. Partnerships are key. A municipality is never going to be able to afford to do everything on our own. We have to forge partnerships, whether it's with other governments or businesses, as was mentioned earlier this evening. I'm proud to have been able to work with the TRCA, pulling them together, as well as raising the roof to create One Cedar Mains. These are opportunities that we have to continue to create. Partnerships with organizations like Reach for the Rainbow to make sure that we do have need-based programming in our communities that is accessible. And we will continue to make sure that we build that into our budget and as a priority.
Thank you. Mario, I've got Mario, Angela, I've got a lot of people down there, so.
And not to repeat, those partnerships are imperative. I do typically have a very pragmatic approach. Again, dealing with the province, dealing with upper tier governments to designate lands for these type of uses, so that we can actually cut out a lot of that red tape out. So in terms of incentives, that we can actually then partner with, whether it be developers, whether it be groups, that we can actually have those actual those homes built. And I've spoken to a lot of people. It is dear and near to my heart as well. So that's the approach that I would want to bring.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, hang on, guys. He was first.
I'll keep it very short and simple. Obviously, partnerships always help. That's where the money is. We need money to help develop these programs. However, I will say one thing. During election time, everybody will promise you the world. 3 Saturdays ago, with the BVRA and Motion Ball and the Neck Ropes, we put on an event. First time ever, Motion Ball, Caledon. Never brought to Caledon before. I will let anybody here guess how many members of council showed up that day to either volunteer or take a picture. Exactly, 1. Neck Ropes. But it's going to come from community people first, fighting for that partnership, and holding accountable to people that say we have things available. We had it 4 years ago. We're going to have it in 4 years. Nobody has stepped up in the past 2-3 councils.
Good. Time. Thank you, Anthony, and then Frank. Sorry, you had to say that first.
Mike, I've known about your situation for over 6 years now. I've seen the struggle you guys have gone through, and the one promise I'm going to give you both, it's going to be action. I've seen you guys talk to everyone under the sun about how you're going to get your kids through their lives, and it's going to stop. Okay, it's going to stop here because I'm going to give you the action to help you get through this and give your kids the support that you need. And it's not going to be just your kids, because I know there's a lot here in Caledon, and it's got to stop. It needs to happen now. No more procrastinating, no more talking. Let's get it done.
Thank you, Frank, and then Angela.
My piece is really from my platform, which is specific to enhancing the community services for inclusion and equability and diverse needs, but also to establish an ambassador, a spokesperson who brings forth their lived experiences, because we don't have that. We need to hear from the people who live it every day. So, and to create the allyship, the corporate partnerships, I believe we all have a responsibility. And we can only do that when we hear the needs within our community and respond to them effectively and wholeheartedly as well.
Thank you. Angela?
Yes. So I just wanted to kind of follow up on what you had said. So I briefly volunteered with CAFI, which is Caledon Area Families for Inclusion. And I think where the gap is also is once we have our children grow, like you were talking about job opportunities. So we need to have a plan in place to help our businesses, encourage our businesses. There has to be an incentive to our businesses to hire individuals that have the challenges. I mean, the fact that we're all different, it doesn't mean that we're not able to do some jobs. And I think it does more for our individuals, for our members, for our sons, daughters, cousins, for them to be able to feel like they're contributing to the community that they live in. That would be my platform. I know that there's a lot of services for kids, but what happens when they turn 18? What happens when they're 21? What happens when they're 30? And this is the gap that I can see that we need. That would be my commitment to you.
Okay, thank you. And one more. Sorry?
We can rebuttal.
Rebut.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that we keep in mind that everybody steps up in a different way to support community organizations. Just this past week, I secured funding sponsorship to support the Megan Zaremba Music Room, which I'm very passionate about, because this is a program for students with special needs and adults as well, who get to access music program in our community. And those programs don't just happen. We have to step up and we have to support them. So finding a sponsor to support that for me is stepping up, and we all find ways of supporting it. We need a variety of programs across our community to service. I can tell you the smiles on the faces of those individuals when they're in that room playing music, was enough for me to get out there and find a sponsor. Thank you.
So I'm going to be brutal with time. I'm going to take one more question because we want to give all the candidates a time to give us their closing speeches, arguments, whatever you want to call it, right? So I'm sorry.
I know, but that's not fair. Okay, hi. Angela, thank you for bringing up CAFE. I invite all of you candidates to keep an eye for our CAFE event that's coming. I know lots of promises, but please keep an eye. I invite my mother to have a question.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. I am a mother, a senior, and I have a daughter 35 years old with a developmental disability. She wants to have her own apartment. She only earns pension of $1,200 a month from ODSP. She is volunteering at a store in town that she also has to pay insurance to be hired as a volunteer. I want to know what your plan is for affordable housing, and I don't mean $2,000 a month for a one-bedroom apartment. A small.
Okay, thank you.
That's hand first.
Thank you, Darlene.
Yeah.
Thank you, Darlene, for that question. And Patricia Franks was here earlier. And when we're talking about partnerships, and Patricia brought everyone to the table, all the partners, Region, CCS, the Province of Ontario, Town of Caledon, we were all sitting at the table and built that beautiful home through CAFE, and it is a great place. The one thing we need to do, Darlene, and we're doing a review right now of our official plan. We actually put it on hold, and I know that Mike, you spoke, and I believe you and Patricia spoke, and we need to make sure that when we revisit that official plan and we're reviewing it, that there is inclusion in there for individuals like Amanda and her friends and other families who have these children, to give you the reassurances that you need as a parent, that your child is going to be, her needs, his or her needs will be met. And that should be done through the official plan. And I invite, Mike, you've been a strong advocate, and Darlene, and I invite you and Patricia and anyone else to sit at the table with us to decide or to plan communities through the official plan. And Amanda, yes. I know.
Same Dollar Tree, same CCS, same goals, same connections, same. My first family. Those two taught me everything.
Yeah. Thank you.
And you're awesome, Amanda.
I am going to be really brutal because it's, 15 minutes after 9 o'clock? Oh, it's 20 after now. And so I'm only going to give you about 2 minutes each to kind of wrap up. But I just want to say to everybody, thank you for your questions. If your questions have not been answered, I'm sure the candidates would like to hear from you. So they have a lot of literature out there that talks about their platform, but I'm actually going to give them a couple of minutes each just to wrap it up, okay? Thank you.
Your left, or? Let's see. I can promise, once elected, that every voice will count. I won't forget your needs. I won't forget you personally. I will do whatever I can to make sure your lives are improved, your services are improved, and that all your needs are taken care of. Businesses here in Caledon have suffered. I took the first step in revitalizing the Caledon Chamber of Commerce as a first step. And I'm very proud of them, especially for putting on this amazing event. You should all be proud of yourselves. But businesses need support, and they need someone with a business mindset to support them. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for putting this evening together. Thank you for everyone taking an interest in your community. This has been a very informative and very interesting evening. To the last speakers on the last question, there is an opportunity, and the town does own a portion of land adjacent to the DG development, and there's some conversations around what we should look at that or what we should be doing there. And quite possibly there's a location that could be part of that future development. And I know as part of the next council, the work plan in the next winter and next spring, we'll be working on that kind of a vision for that area. And I'll talk to you afterwards. And we'll, and it's something that we do need to have that conversation with. The Cedar Mains project is just a wonderful project, and you couldn't ask for a better location in the Cedar Mains project, and we could replicate that in other locations. So thank you very much. And thank you very much for everyone.
Thank you, Nick, but I'll be working on that work plan next term, not you. Caledon has been told by the province we're going to grow to 300,000. It's very clear by the questions raised tonight that we have big problems, and big problems are going to keep happening. We need to elect councillors that don't have such close ties to development. I think you can thank Argo for funding your last campaign. I don't know if they are as well. I don't know. My campaign is funded by people and myself, and it's time to have independent councillors who are deeply connected to developers so that we put the needs of residents first. I will be elected to be your voice at council, putting the public interest first and not private interest. It's time to stop the backroom deals and have transparent, accountable, fair, responsible governance in this town. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to keep this short because it's getting late and I know everybody's starting to get a little bit restless. I'll leave you with this. As municipal elected officials, we are not the voice of the community. You guys are the voice of the community. We are the ears. We listen. That has not happened for a while. What needs to happen is a new change. We need to, it's the old saying, if you do the same thing over and over and expect a different result, right? We all know what that means. If you want someone to listen, if you want someone to take what you have to say and actually listen, digest it, and bring it to council and actually get work done, that's me. If you want somebody with a backbone, that's me. If you want somebody to stand up and fight, that's me. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. 19 years as a Catholic school trustee, I had the opportunity to experience what the power of policy development, community advocacy, stakeholders' input, and how that formulates good policies. There's many examples in our community, starting from trucking on Highway 50, inadequate access to 427, the population increase that's going to happen with minimal infrastructure. These are all examples of poor policy. It is certainly with my experience and my qualifications that I hope that I can represent you far more effective. Certainly under the challenges of the regional council, who's waiting for the opportunities to see not so skilled representatives come to the table, because they will certainly look for the opportunity to continue to neglect our community. And I think that's key. And we can see that neglect, many examples of that on Highway 50 when 427 was built. And it took 3 years to build it or 4 years to build it, and they didn't touch Highway 50. That's a prime example of neglecting our community that use Highway 50 and Coleraine as the main arterial roads to get to work. So those are some of the examples that I certainly see, are frustrated by, and certainly hope that I can make a difference on October 24th. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to keep it brief as well because I have to go to the bathroom. So, realistically, thank you to the Chamber. Thank you to everyone that's come out. I do actually prefer to speak to everybody one-on-one. I want to be that person that leads by example and actually puts the whole philosophy of actions speak louder than words. I've personally hit over 10,000 doors already, and I will be hitting the remainder of the doors in my ward. I hope to see everyone. Sometimes you're not home, but my resume, I believe, speaks for itself. My desire, I hope to earn your trust. And that's the key word, is earn your trust. This is a public service position, and the public servant aspect needs to be put back into the equation. So thank you very much. Respectfully, I'm asking for your vote as Regional Councillor for Wards 4, 5, and 6.
I'm going to stand up only because I am going to fall. I just want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for showing up and for being engaged. As you know, my name is Angela Panacci, and I'm running for Ward 6, and this is what I would like to do for you. I've divided my tasks into 3: community engagement, and economic development. I'm not going to list them all. We do not have enough time. So some of my priorities under community would be, again, going back to the Bolton, finishing up the Bolton downtown core revitalization plan. We need to complete it. We need to see the end picture, and we're gonna like it. We're gonna have successful businesses, we're gonna attract people, and we're gonna have good economic development at the downtown core. We need amenities for the North Hill. You shouldn't have to drive 15, 20 minutes to get a bag of milk. We need stuff in the North Hill. It's been long overdue. We need, believe it or not, there isn't a doggy park in the North Hill, and every single resident, I believe, in Bolton has a dog. So I think it's only fair that a doggy park is in the North Hill. That's something that I would like to propose. I also think that we need to increase community engagement through social activities, concerts, and events. And I think that after what we've been through with COVID in the last 2 years of lockdowns and isolation, it has come and it's been highlighted, the need to come together as a community, the need to build that community spirit, the need to do engagements. From an economic development perspective, again, I will work with my regional partners, regional councillors, and the provinces to expedite the Bolton GO train. It is happening. It is part of the provincial transit plan, and we need it. We have university students, we have workers. We want to attract new businesses to Caledon, to Bolton specifically. We need to have other ways of transportation rather than just cars. It doesn't help our environment, and it's not helping us. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you, and I'll be brief, and I would like to thank the Chamber for organizing an amazing event and the opportunity for the public to come out and ask their questions, and I thank the public for coming out, asking your questions and listening. Caledon, as we know, is going to grow to become a city of 300,000 people over the next 2 decades. It is extremely important that as we grow responsibly, we remember who we are, we grow and protecting our natural environment, our heritage, and not losing our identity through that growth. We also need to ensure that developers do not continue to dictate the growth to us, how we grow, when we grow, what we look like. We need to make our own destiny. We need to decide our own destiny, and we need to decide our own future. And I invite the community to attend public meetings, to be part of the process, to be engaged, and to make sure that we have a responsibility to keep you engaged and to keep you being part of that process before any of these decisions are made. As I said earlier, infrastructure must be in place. I have seen the challenges that we have experienced with the growth that we have in terms of the burden and the pressures on our fire department, our police department, our paramedics department. Before we start making those decisions about development and how we're going to grow, we need to make sure that that is part of the infrastructure that's available. Health services, healthcare is extremely important. It is extremely important to keep people healthy. When we keep you healthy, you can work and we can have a healthy economy. So I commit to you that you will be part of that process as we grow and part of the decision making, and be part of that before decisions are made, that you are fully engaged, no more backdoor deals, and that there's a full, transparent process. Bringing back public question period, also so your voices can be heard at Town Hall. Thank you.
Awesome. So I'm just going to leave you with this. If we want to build the best Caledon possible, we need input from the people that live here. Your knowledge, your experiences, your perspectives and opinions, those are what are important. That is what is important to me. I want to make sure that all residents, businesses have an opportunity to learn about the issues that concern them, as well as an opportunity to have their voice heard by council. I have been here in this community volunteering for the last 15, almost 17 years, and I've been educating, collaborating, and advocating on behalf of my community, and I'm going to make you one promise. If I am not lucky enough to win this position, I will continue to do that, and that is my promise to the residents.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet because I know that we're all tired and it's been a long day. Over the past several weeks, I have knocked on many doors in Bolton, and the response is similar to what we heard here tonight. Bolton has been left behind. Why would we give the same person who has been responsible a promotion? We're talking about infrastructure problems, road safety, too many trucks, improper planning. Everything Bolton, I hear often at the doors, Caledon East gets everything. I'm proud to have represented Caledon East for the past 8 years. I'm proud to have gotten them a brand new community hub with a swimming pool and a walking track and a public library with services for seniors and youth. I'm proud to have worked to deliver a promise for a GO train for our future. I'm proud of the work we've been able to do to revitalize Palgrave, to make it safer, to have safe crosswalks at the trailway, to improve the sidewalks and the street lights, to improve the crosswalks in Caledon East. I'm proud of the reconstruction that is going to bring revitalization to the village core in Caledon East that will start next year. This is proven track record to get things done for my community and beyond. So I leave you with this. Bolton has been left behind. We've heard it very clear here tonight. Why would you give that same person a promotion this time around?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just want to end the evening by thanking all of you for being here. I think it's really important that you engaged, and taking an interest in your community is really important. So I was really impressed with the engagement. So thank you very much to everyone who's here. Thank you to the Caledon Chamber of Commerce for hosting this. It takes a lot of work to put something like this together. And I just want to, in closing, say I'm committed to taking action, and I'm committed to getting results. I encourage you to pick up my brochure on the way out. The priorities listed in there are our plan. Before I put anything to that paper, I had meaningful conversations with residents of all ages, from children to senior citizens. I took time to meet with our local business owners. I spoke to leaders of our community organizations, and I developed a plan, and I'm committed to it. I will deliver. I respectfully ask for your support on October the 24th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to thank all of you for coming out, and I want to thank all the candidates that were here today. Thank you. Just from a person who has lived in the community for 30 years, I just have a challenge for all of you, whoever gets elected. One of the lessons that I have learned from my Indigenous partners where I work, the statement, innovate, don't replicate. I leave that with you as you become members of council. Do your best to do that. Thank you.
Rogers TV viewer response line. Email us or connect with us on social media. You're watching Rogers TV.
This guy is feared. Nobody wants to fight him. He's so talented. There is a new king at 135 pounds. But these are two of the best in the world, and they put it all on the line tonight. You want to talk about two of the best strikers, not only in the bantamweight division, but in all of the UFC. Two undisputed titles on the line. This pay-per-view is wild.
Ani, I'm Carolyn King, and I'm a member of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the creator of the Moccasin Identifier. Philip Cote, an artist in Toronto here, took and redrew real moccasins. We're starting over with the children. The idea is that they would research whose land their school is built on, near, or what treaty area they're in. And the educational kit that we have has all that information in there. And the children just, love it. My dream is that this province will be covered with moccasin identifiers within the next decade, and they will forever know whose land they're on. That's the goal. Educate and awareness with a nice, simple little program called the Moccasin Identifier.
My dad was a railway porter. It was just about the only job a black man could get. But he had big plans for us. Music would be our ticket out of poverty. I knew we couldn't afford that piano, so I practiced twice as hard.
Nice, Daisy. Okay, Oscar, let's hear it.
Turns out I wasn't half bad. Then I found jazz, or it found me. It wasn't all easy, though. I faced a lot of hate, but I found my stage. They call me the man with four hands. Well, I don't know about that, but let's see how far this ticket takes me.
From Montreal to Carnegie Hall and far beyond, Oscar Peterson became one of the most recorded and celebrated jazz musicians of all time.
You must be the reporter. Come with me.
So, Miss McGill, how does it feel being Canada's famous woman engineer?
The real story is the work we've done retooling this factory.
To build the Hawker Hurricane?
Indeed. 40 planes last month with a capacity of up to 100. Our fighters are over England as we speak. Of course, it pains me to see airplanes mass-produced like boxcars or baby carriages. But in war, we make concessions in favor of innovation.
You must feel at home, though, managing all of these women.
I'm not here to manage women.
Well, you must admit it is an unusual job.
I'm the chief engineer here. I do what engineers do. That's all.
What are we doing now?
We are to win this war. We need to know how she flies.
Elsie McGill was the world's first female aeronautical engineer. She oversaw Canada's production of Hawker Hurricanes during the Second World War, earning her the nickname Queen of the Hurricanes.
We were born in Canada. We spoke English. On the streets, we weren't welcome. But on the field, we were the Asahi. Vancouver's champions. Everyone cheered for us. Our people had a voice. Then Canada declared war on Japan. They took us from our homes, called us enemies, forced us into camps. But we brought the game with us. Baseball helped get us through the internment.
The Vancouver Asahi were among the 22,000 Japanese Canadians interned during the Second World War. The team never played another game.
I never thought I'd know that feeling. To be in love. Because for us, it was a crime. Someone had to respond to the tabloids. So I wrote letters, challenging every misconception about homosexuality. 9 homes, 7 dogs, 47 years together, and still not spouses under the law. So we took our fight to the Supreme Court.
Jim Egan and Jack Nesbitt await a verdict on their fight for spousal rights.
Hello. We lost our case, but we made a difference.
As a result of Jim Egan's case, the Supreme Court ruled that sexual orientation is protected under the Charter of Rights, a landmark victory for the LGBTQ2 community.
Hey, Gabe, we're supposed to be at City Hall.
We're gonna build it right here.
Ah, yeah, sure. And give wetsuits to all the visitors?
No, on the water.
Hey, come on, we're talking about building something the size of 64 city blocks.
And there's no land left in Montreal.
So, get serious.
Listen, we'll build islands.
How? You dig up Montreal?
They're digging a subway, remember? You take it from there, and you put it here.
12 months and 25 million tons of fill later, St. Helens Island was reshaped and Ile Notre Dame was created.
Come on, we don't want to keep Mayor Drapeau waiting, do we?
Montreal's Expo 67. It would prove to be the most successful World's Fair of the 20th century.
Here we go.
You can't do this, Jacques. It's never been done before.
Mr. Blake.
You can't see down with that thing.
Mr. Blake.
Jacques. What?
They're coming.
Hold them up. Find something. Jacques,